Hello, everyone, and welcome to State of the Realm. For this episode, don't worry, it's about Final Fantasy XIV. I had someone ask me if we were going to talk about 16 this week. No, it's a 14 spoiler cast, because despite it being 7 weeks since patch practically, we still haven't talked about the story yet on the show. So that's what we're going to do today. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Happy, and of course, joining me is Sly, who's just wrapping up his lunch real quick. I'm sitting over here jealous. How you doing, Sly?
I'm doing great. Yeah, how was 16?
I loved it.
Real quick.
I loved it.
Good.
Yeah, that's all I'll say.
I'm still working my way through, but yeah. Cool.
Good. Yeah, that's it. Now we drop the topic. Well, I mean, we do have a guest. Maybe they want to contribute. So, since it's a spoiler cast show, you know, Sly and I don't remember shit half the time. And so we had to bring on somebody who pays a lot more attention than we do. So I guess we just look more dumb in that case. That's not good. We have Anonymoose.
We all got backup.
Yeah, backup. We have Anonymoose who's joining the show for the first time. Long time overdue.
Welcome, Moose.
Hey.
How's it going?
Same old.
so thrilled.
Feel like every day's been the same for like 10 years. Been simultaneously 2 months and 10 years.
Yeah, that's fair. You know, it's funny. One of the only reasons we've never had you on the show is because I didn't want to just steal you from Frosty. I was like, Frosty just had him on.
That's okay. Like,
I know it is.
Every show is different. I feel like I've seen people give the advice to content creators so often. Like, it doesn't matter if it's already been done. It's going to be different when you do it. You're bringing something unique to that experience. I feel like it's the same thing with shows. I could do three lore shows on the same topic.
I heard all of this Monday, back to back, 15 hours. So yes, you are right. Yeah, I have to believe it at that point. If like 30 to 40 people say it back to back, I have to believe it at that point.
It is true, but that doesn't stop, like, your sensical brain doesn't always get over the nonsensical parts.
Yeah.
You know? But you're here now, and that's all that matters.
Honored to be here.
We're glad to have you here too, because Sly and I, it's going to be a big struggle. You're going to be doing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do my best.
Okay.
Carry.
Anything is good. With us, anything is good. Aloha.
Mm-hmm.
No, you go back to bed. We're just starting the show. Anyway. All right. Before we get started talking about patch 6.4 story, quick shout out to our sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. They don't have to support. They choose to support. Our show is available for free on YouTube and podcast apps, but we appreciate all of them over there for supporting as well. And of course, our regular sponsors, Steel Series, Advanced GG, all the stuff we have codes for in the description and all that. I love that when you play a disappearing act with the green screen, as soon as you do, yes, it's like, I'm gone. Is that like a smart green screen setup? Like one of those cameras that doesn't
looks like the Discord green screen.
Is it?
Like Discord.
I would say it's actually a very dumb green screen setup because my lighting isn't even great yet. Still working on the lighting. No, this was an accident. I forgot I had the purple thing on.
That's fine. But I'm saying, is it the one where it just outlines you, but there's no actual green screen behind you? Is it?
Yes.
Yeah. That's
there is an actual green screen behind me. It's doing both.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've got one of those, like, I think it's Elgato, the one that like comes out of the box on the floor.
Oh, that one's great. Yeah. I love that thing. I don't have one anymore, but I do. I do love that thing. All right. Yeah, man, I said it like 18 times in pre-show, but I can't believe we're on the 7th week since patch. It's been that long since patch already.
If I forgot anything, I'm going to blame that. Like, you should have just had me sooner when it was fresh.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things that got in the way of that. I went to another country, and then 16 came out. So there's a few things that got in the way of that, but we're here now. I don't even remember what the last show we did. It was Anabasios, wasn't it? Savage, I think, Sly? With Svi?
Did we do a Savage show?
Yeah, we did one with Svi.
Yeah, we did.
Svi and Whoops. Yeah, that was the last one. God, that's so long ago. All right, well, we'll do our best, everyone, to remember, but I expect you to berate specifically Sly and I in the comment section. So, patch 6.4. It's been a pretty interesting ride going through the 6.x series compared to the last several years of expansions that we've had, because we haven't had this sort of reset story in a sense where we're not like set up for the next expansion in any capacity at this point. We don't actually know where we're going. There's like a few tiny things that are like mysteries, but other than that, we're riding on Emmett's words from 6.0 and just guessing from there still. And that's about the gist of it. How have you felt about the post 6.x story pacing and overall content, even leading up to 6.4?
Let's see. I'm like you. I'm used to going, like, you have your base expansion, and then that ends a story, and then it opens a new story, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that new story is bringing that to an end, and I am used to that. But at the same time, like, if I look back in my memory, I can't remember what patch is what patch. So for all I know, the battle on the bridge is like 3.0 and not 3.3. So in my head, in my memory, it feels different, but like not entirely. So it's cool to like wrap it all up in one big expansion and then move on. But also I feel like it takes something away from kind of the grandiosity of it. Because it feels like we're in kind of a self-contained thing. We had our big, powerful ending, and now we've got this new story. But it really took a while to build its foundations, and now it's already almost over. So it feels like it's kind of like contained in a way that hits a little less hard. But also I feel like it's the right thing to do for the pacing at the moment.
Interesting. A lot of people haven't felt that way about the pacing at the moment, kind of thing.
How have they felt?
Well, how have you felt, Mike?
Me? I've been okay. I mean, I just like to see a plot start and resolve, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think about, will it take me 2 years, 4 years, 10 years, 5 pat, like whatever it is. And obviously for me, it's also been about seeing kind of what I consider the 14 specialty of taking something from another Final Fantasy game, using it as a base reference, and then making it part of 14's world. I always say my favorite parts are things like Crystal Tower, Ivalice, because yes, they are taken from another game, but they are also completely worked into the world and lore of 14, versus something like Omega, where all the little fights are just like, yeah, I read a story somewhere, and yeah, I just need an excuse to put Kefka in the game. You know, like that's the kind of stuff that I don't like. So this has been, for me, awesome, because it's way more layers on Final Fantasy IV characters that were one note and kind of like generic for like looking at them now back 25 years ago. So I've enjoyed it.
Personally, it's weird. It's kind of funny because we go through this whole rigmarole of go through an expansion, go to FanFest, essentially get teased as to where we are going and what we are doing, come back and then try to piece together the pieces of how we are going to get there and what events will take place to get there. So like I feel like it's odd. Like we're coming upon that time where we're about to get the little info of like where we're going. And then we get back, okay, now we have to wait until 5.5 to see how we're getting to that point and how we're going to set up to that point. 10 years of this really, really big story, and then we get this, promise of a new adventure, which we have started. But I feel like it's not as grandiose as I thought it would be, like the beginnings of I would think, I mean, the Four Fiends is a way to start it, sure, but now that we're about to wrap that up, like it's the old question of who's next, like who's the bigger bad, like and we're all thinking there has to be a bigger bad, but yeah, like where do we go after this? Who's the bigger bad? Why the fuck are we going to Mara City in the New World? Because that's two of the possible locations that we're more than likely going to. And how is that going to connect to the bigger bad from the Four Fiends? And Golbez? Like, questions. These are all the questions I have. Yeah.
I have a conspiracy theory that this is actually just a distraction. This is like they're throwing a lot of
red herring.
I don't know about like a full-on red herring, but like I feel like we were told the plan of like we're gonna ground the story, we're gonna be an adventurer again, we're gonna go start fresh. I feel like they told us that to prime us, and then that's 7.0. And then this story now is like just this really cool idea they had to show people more about the Void because they love the Void. And it's supposed to just kind of get us from A to B. Like this was a story they couldn't figure out where to put anywhere else. So they built it here and we're like, here, just do this between 6.0 and 7.0 so that we can like shock and awe with how we're going to return to being an adventurer and learning something new. Because I feel like that's what FanFest is going to be, just shock and awe to really drive home the message that Hydaelyn and Zodiark are over, but that doesn't mean 14's over. I know that that's been one of their anxieties, is proving that to people.
Yeah.
And that's in line with what they said would happen when we in-game figure out where we're going. Because we're going to know where we're going before the game tells us where we're going at this point.
Yep. They do a horrible job of that, by the way.
I don't know. I feel like thinking back, we didn't get the 2.4 trailer until the day of North American Fan Fest originally.
Did we? I thought we got it like before, and I just kept seeing it at Fan Fest. Yeah, I thought we got it before.
They literally put it online the morning of registration.
I remember getting up and checking my phone and being like, "They what?"
It just back then they didn't like do a part 2 specifically to give us trailers. They would sometimes just shadow drop it on like a Friday, and that was it.
Yeah,
and then we just had to go from there.
Thing.
Yeah, that's what they did with the first one. So like we kind of had the thought that we were going to Ishgard, but we didn't fully know until we got to FanFest that day. But then thinking the Stormblood, they kept Kugane pretty well secret. I mean, a lot of people predicted we might, but like that was something that shocked us at the second Fan Fest that we didn't learn in game.
Yeah, like I said, we were taken back down, and everybody like, "What? It's underground. It's been raised. It's at the bottom of the sea. We're not going up again." No.
Bottom of the
and
sea.
then we.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like, they said it was raised to the ground. I don't think we're going there. We know what happened. They were like, we don't know what happened. I was like, no, we know what happened. This is just not very good. I don't know. I feel like other than this one, we've had a pretty decent inkling going into the FanFest, but FanFest has mostly been a confirmation game and then usually a few surprises. This time it's going to be a full-on like, we are going to know. There's no way to tell us what the expansion name is, there's no way they keep that from us until after 6.5 releases in like late September, early October. It's not going to happen. Yeah, and Shadowbringers was a big surprise. Going to the first was a massive surprise. Yeah,
I had a lot of theories about that one, and they were all wrong.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people. I actually did see a few people guess we were going to the first. I saw a few successful guesses for that, and I was like, proud of all of you. But yeah, this will be. I mean, keep in mind, I was talking about how it's been 7 weeks since patch, or almost 7 weeks since patch. It's 21 days until FanFest. It's 3 weeks to the day. FanFest.
I'll be here before we know it.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's the season. The season has begun. The season
I'm still not ready.
Yeah, it's gonna be a time. It's been a very different vibe. And I always tell them started talking about 6.4 story, but it's all relevant to talking about the story. It's been a very different vibe going into waiting for 7.0. Because there's been a lot more game and popularity in 6.x, and there's also been a lot more discourse in 6.x. So the energy going into the 7.0 wait is in kind of a weird space. So FanFest.
Yeah, the discourse has been interesting for this cycle. I feel like it's been like a much more passionate and divisive discourse than I've seen in a long time.
I think it's because there's just a lot more people. That's what I always think. I think it's just like all of the voices are elevated right now above anything else. So nothing wrong with that. Everyone's just a little passionate about their Final Fantasy 14. But we have a story.
Little?
What, Sly?
A little?
A little? Yeah, a little.
A little?
Yeah, a little bit. Tiny bit.
A little bit.
Yeah. We got a story to talk about. Patch 6.4.
Yes, we do.
It is here, and it is just another step, as we were saying, in this void story. I almost want to call it the not even the Four Fiends arc. I want to call it the Zero arc, because she is kind of at the center of the entire thing. As is
Our little baby's growing.
Yeah, quite literally. Yeah, it's the Zero Final Fantasy IV love letter arc. There you go. And this one, for anyone who has forgotten in the 7 weeks, is largely about actually trying to achieve the thing that Vritra set out to do. We need to go to the void, specifically the moon in the void, and try to retrieve Asdaya, and everything goes south, essentially, is the summary of 6.4's MSQ.
Very good TLDR of the events, yeah.
Yeah. There's some spicy curry somewhere along the way. And
is that where we're starting?
Yeah, I mean, we might as well. That's how it started.
Are we gonna go? Are we gonna go in? How do you do it? Do you go in order? Do you hit notes in random order? What do you do?
I mean, we go off on tangents every now and then, but yeah, like we tend to keep in a somewhat of an order about the story, because it like you don't want to go from like A to K to C and then.
You start on Zero Miss and end on the curry. Everybody likes to end with a nice meal.
The order is an important question on this one, because like you said, the main thrust of it is we're actually going to try to achieve the thing we set out to do, but that's actually like a very simple part of the story. And a lot of this patch is actually fluff, which is not a criticism. It's delicious fluff. It's marshmallow fluff, but it was a lot of finding stuff for us to do to delay the very simple mission into the void. Yeah. Yes, it starts with curry. Everybody's kind of waiting for news of what we can do next.
I'm sorry. No, real quick. I do have to ask, because like it was the quote unquote obvious choice. Did you choose the ass blasting curry?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that's what I would pick in real life too.
Same.
Okay. Like, because I have not heard anyone who chose otherwise. So okay.
Well, I felt like based on the phrasing, I actually felt like that was the mission. Like I remember I was looking at all 4 options. I think it was 4 options, and being like, 3 of these don't seem hot, and I think she wants hot. So I don't want to fail this. Like when I was selling fish, I want to make sure to get her the right curry.
I fucking forgot about the fish mission. I'm so sorry.
I did not sell fish very well, so I wanted to sell curry like a champ.
Same.
So I picked the worst looking curry. I don't think there's actually an ending, like a difference in the ending. I think they're all kind of the same, and it just tells you they taste a little different. I think they're all equally satisfyingly spicy to her, if I remember right.
Do they kill the rest of the patrons? I guess is the real question.
Yeah.
Does everyone die except for, because I think preceding you going to get the spices, you're told specifically that Zero has like no, like she always orders like hot spicy food. Like I think it's put into your head that Zero always orders it that way anyway, so you're going to help. So I think that's why it feels like there's a correct answer.
Yeah, I had a mission. Like I was expecting a scene like Lord of the Rings where they're drinking, where like everybody's just kind of like collapsing on the table, all their, like leaking from the eyes and the nose, and Zero's just like, I think it's affecting
me. Zero, it does get passionate though. Let us restore our ether. It's like, damn, Zero, she looks you dead in the eyes, just like, it's time. Join me in this adventure. Yeah.
This is actually like a trend in this expansion that I love. I spent the first half of the game being like, why do we never see them doing anything boring? We never see them waiting around. We never see them just like eating. Like every time we see them bonding, it's because someone's died. So the fact that we have spent so much of this expansion watching people just hang out and eat, I love it.
Yeah, there's a casual sense to it that I think is a part of the divisiveness of the story writing. Because some people really want just the plot to advance, and some people actually are invested in a character to the point where they wonder what their everyday life looks like. I like to associate a lot with like the end of someone's favorite show or anime. They get the happy conclusion, but people aren't kind of satisfied with that. They want to go, okay, but then, you know, what was their life like after that? You know, and it's like, well, that's not relevant to the plot. And it's like, yeah, I don't care, but I want to know what their life
to make
was
that
like.
up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's that, but it's happening like as we're going through the story, because every patch has a Zero learns how to be people kind of segment, and it's usually a bit more comedic and fun. Like you know, when she wakes up in the hospital bed and meets what's it called? What's her name? I'm so bad with the names. The alchemist woman. Can't remember. Nadana. There you go.
Like the big alchemist character?
Nadana.
Nadana.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's a moment where she's like, she's never seen like another race of people that like aren't void and don't look like it. She's just like, I don't know what's going on. Like they go out of their way to create moments like that in pretty much every patch with Zero that are not highly tense moments. So you get a lot of just, you know, Zero's being like, she's just learning how to be people. That's all.
I feel like in order for the emotional parts of the story to actually land, you have to understand them as people a bit. And there are only so many ways you can go about building that kind of understanding and emotional relationship between the characters. And only doing it as like an aside shoehorned into the story while you're already out in the field, already doing stuff, that's really difficult. So like I appreciate that they're willing to spend the resources to do boring scenes so that the really good scenes hit harder later. Like, I don't care if some people find them boring now, it's going to pay off later.
Yeah, as long as you're invested in the character. Because I think that's the thing. If people aren't into it, then these scenes make things worse. And it's like, because they're already not into them, you know? It'd be like,
just commit, skip the cutscene. Just commit to being a cutscene skipper. It's okay.
Yeah, and all those scenes do come with good looking food, especially the boss or whatever it was called. Oh man, that was great.
Yeah, the way it actually like broke in half and the steam came out and it actually had some like jiggle to it. That was very impressive for Final Fantasy 14 assets.
I was very hungry when you described.
Yeah, we're getting polygonal grapes in our fucking bag. So
do not. I hope there's a for anyone who may not be the smartest individual. I hope there's a tag on it that says "Do not consume." Somebody's like, "Great grapes." At least it'll squish. That's kind of our beginning scene, but you're right. We do go through a decent amount of fluff to explore. I think one point that is kind of fun to explore, and it is the ether font, and a point that's kind of beaten home at this point when it comes to Garlemald. I don't know if you feel the same way about those two particular elements that we go through next.
I think so. Let's see. What are you latching on to with the ether front? Because like I saw it as just like all right, let's go get some ether. We got some stuff to kill, and you're saying, oh, there's something interesting here.
Well, I mean, so it answers the question of exactly what we were going to use to fuel because I always wondered, like, how do we just have this spaceship? Like, how does this thing just work? Like, we had to summon a bunch of primals to like get it into the sky, and that's not like a simple, easy thing to do. What was the actual plan here? They had a whole island that's just like this amalgamation, this massing of ether that they just kind of keep and have to themselves. All the wildlife is like messed up there and everything, and they've got Volibear's new rework from League of Legends for some reason. It's just they've like I love it as a location, just kind of coming out of nowhere.
Agreed on that front. I actually, now that you mention it, that's a great point because I had the opposite reaction to it. In the story, it felt like the primals were us solving a problem, and then me going, oh, so they had already solved this problem, and we only did the primal thing so that we could like drive home the everyone works together ending. Like, I felt like one of the biggest themes in Endwalker was that they had to find a way for everyone we've ever met to contribute. Like even Xenos in the end contributed. So it felt like when I saw the ether run, I was like, wait a minute, we had already solved this problem. We had a plan. But no, I prefer to see it your way. That feels better.
Yeah, so that's why I liked it. I mean, the island in itself doesn't really tell us a whole lot. I think they, in their own words, described everything we actually need to know lore-wise about the island, what its purpose was. Other than, I guess, why it's that way, like why this one location is this like bursting seam of ether, especially so far from Mordona, which is generally considered to be Silvertear Lake as kind of like the center point of everything. Like, did this occur? I want to know, like, and maybe the lore book will, but I'm not sure if it will go over, you know, how this came. Did this start after? Like, they I feel like it couldn't have, because it wouldn't have been part of the plan that they've been setting up for all these years with the Loporrits. So those are the types of questions I still have about it. Is how long has it been there? How did it get there? Why? Like, that's it. But what it functionally does, we know. You know, we've concluded that and used it effectively, and we got another Final Fantasy IV boss in there. It's a little disappointing. There was one thing that I noticed as I was going through the like the script. One of the things I like to do is what's called a panslation. I look at every single language of the game when there are interesting lines, and I see, is there any difference between the languages? Is there anything I can learn from this? Is there any extra hints? And lately they've been really careful to keep all the information, all the languages. So I actually rarely come across hints anymore. But there was actually a joke that was only in English. When you're heading out there, you originally have to petition the forum to get there, so that you might actually be denied access to this place. And I think it was Kokol is telling you that you got to get permission. You got to get permission, and he's talking about the forum, and he goes, "Yeah, the forum doesn't even wipe their ass without like the proper protocol." And as he's saying it, Forshno appears and goes, "I'll have you know my backside is immaculate." Yeah, that scene doesn't look like that in any other language. It's just English.
I actually remember that.
Yeah.
In every other language, he's just like, "Yeah, you can't go without the forum." And then the forum shows up and he's like, "Whoa, the forum."
Kate is having just as much fun as Koji did.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, wow. I didn't even, that's another thing. I never think to check other languages. I just take whatever is put in front of me the first time and I go, yep. I trust their localization team enough to just know that that's going to be something they want me to see.
I have scars from earlier in the game.
Yeah.
At the very most, I guess somebody would play it on JP, and that'd be the baseline comparison that we usually have is whoever plays with JP voices.
Yeah, that sounds like a Hush font situation.
Yeah.
That one was some drama.
Oh yeah, drama. Yeah, I mean it was like the weirdest drama. It was like, I want him to be a raging pervert because it's more honest to his original writing.
Did you guys pick up on the NPC that came back? I didn't even notice. My chat pointed it out to me. So you go out and you talk to this researcher named Margaret, who's like really quirky, and my whole chat is like, "Hey, do you remember her? Do you remember her?" And I'm like, kinda, maybe. Like, I think I remember a crazy researcher that stayed up for a week, but I have no idea what's going on. It turns out they reused from 6.0, like the capricious researcher who like didn't sleep for a week and keeps doing the Yule dance. So like you were supposed to recognize through the Yule dance that you've met this person before, and she's actually gotten some sleep.
Yeah, it's something my chat had. I would have never remembered it if not for my chat. That's the same situation.
Didn't stand out to me at all. I didn't make the connection at all.
Because isn't that the quest where it's like, it's right before Erdion J reconnects with Moonbreeda's parents?
Yes.
Yeah, that quest annoyed the shit out of me to the point where there's no way I would have remembered it. Like, trying to find all the researchers was very particularly a quest that annoyed the hell out of me. So there was no chance I would have remembered that.
The other thing that it's like kind of hidden in this quest a little bit is Aaronville's going home.
Yep.
Like there's like a little hint. They're starting to give you little hints about things that are going on. And I can't figure out if that's like connecting to all of the mentions of that area and that there's actually like something to look forward to over there, or if that's just like part of his character that he's that he's going home for, Vera reasons.
Yeah, because especially because since they've introduced male Vieira, the idea of a male Vieira going home is
Yeah.
it's either he's going someplace that he hasn't been in a very long time, or he got out so early. When he says home, he is referring to another location from either, the New World, Mirror City, I doubt he means Ivalice, because going back to the forest would be the only time. If once you leave the woods, you're not supposed to ever come back to the woods. Like, that's like a super big thing for them. And the men are supposed to only be seen for like mating and to take the kids, the boys who are of age. So if I sincerely doubt he's going back to the wood.
They're going back to make baby.
No, he left. Once you leave the wood, they don't want you there anymore. If he tried to go back, they'd just be like, "Who the fuck are you? Get out of here."
The shrug.
So I can't just show up and be like, "I'm here to fuck," and I've been going everywhere. He can't just do that whenever he wants. That's not how it works.
I take nothing for granted anymore.
Who says?
Take nothing for
I'm here to fuck.
I mean, he could go there and say it, I guess, but I don't think it would be
So it's
Laura.
like, what are you talking about? I would do that. Like,
Yeah. Sly's like, well, I'm from personal experience.
Just show up in the woods. I'm here to fuck.
That's lore accurate. Yeah, no, that's very much lore accurate Vieira behavior, clearly. Mm-hmm.
So many things in the past couple of years I've been like, oh, that would never happen. We have precedent that says the exact opposite is always what happens. And then it happens. There's like some excuse for it to happen. So yeah, he's probably going back to the place he got his city name, but for all I know.
Yeah. I mean, male Vieira existing was the same thing. Like, well, male Vieira, they say that they're very rare, and so we probably won't get them, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, no, here, just take it. Just take it. You've complained enough. Have your male Vieira. That's fine. Oh, man. And the other thing that happens in that scene is, what's it called? Kryle gets her Smash Brothers invite.
Yeah, whatever's going on there. I like how everybody sees whatever they want to in it. That's what's been really fun about that, is that it wasn't a hint at all. Everyone just saw it as confirmation that they're right.
Yeah.
Have you seen the version where like someone clipped through the book?
No.
Someone like tried to clip through the book and take an image of kind of the whole envelope. And if you look at the design, it's really funny because all the people who are like leaning New World are like, oh yeah, it looks Mesoamerican. It's like gold. It's got like El Dorado motifs on it. Definitely New World. And everyone who was already thinking Mericidia looks at the shape on it and just goes, Tiamat! Mericidia, confirmed. So everyone just saw whatever they wanted to. It wasn't a hint at all.
I mean, the only thing I thought of is it's clearly the new job. They said Kryle was getting a glow up, and we're expecting a caster as a community. So that was the only thing I thought it was, and I was just like, and she's going to be in the next Smash Brothers. Sakurai sent her a letter, and now we just wait for them to announce the new Smash Brothers featuring Kryle, and we'll be good. Why?
We know someone is reaching out to Archons. That's the only hint we really have. Someone is looking for Archons who have like a lot of experience and the ability to move freely between nations. And that's all we're getting for now, apparently.
Yep. What's going on, Sly?
And like when I heard this when they referred to this someone, like I was trying to rack my mind, like Final Fantasy wise, who could it be?
So here's the thing. If it's New World, there is precedent in the Blue Mage quest for people who have started to establish grounds over there. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they'd be reaching out to Kryle. I think that
no.
Although to be fair, Charlene is the closest location to the New World that we have been to in terms of physical location on the map. Not by much, because it's got to go like this versus just going straight out of Aldenard. But I don't think that's much precedent. I'm willing to bet that it's Mericidia and that it was probably delivered from... it probably went through Thavnair over to there, because that's the only way anything gets in and out of Mericidia is through Thavnair. So it's... and I think that's still going to be the way that we get to Mericidia. I think it's going to be through Thavnair above all else. It's from the first...
I will say that one thing the Mericidia camp has going for it is this patch, is 6.4. Because when later on, when we do get to Azhdaya, she says that she was actually in Mericidia when it all went down with the Empire. And I thought that was a really weird thing to mention. That was a really weird thing to add. Like, Mericidia was always Bahamut and Tiamat's domain. So the idea... and like, every time we've seen the dragons get into some shit, the other dragons don't show up. Like, it's very rare that they actually interfere in each other's affairs. So to hear that Azhdaya was down in Mericidia, I feel like that was... why would they do that? So that's like one thing I think does lean in Mericidia's direction for the people who want to believe that one.
I think that's fair.
Quick side tangent, and like I'm glad somebody brought this up during my interviews on Monday. Why the fuck have the devs still not cleared the Garlean Empire cloud cover on the map?
Because we haven't been there yet. We haven't been to Corvos or anything. Yeah.
Do you want like
We've been to Ilsabard. We've been to Ilsabard, so there's no reason to cover. At least remove the cloud cover over the Garlean Empire. No, because
they want it to be suspenseful for when they eventually unveil all the rest of this. There's a lot of... we have seen one tiny bit of Ilsabard.
and then, well, I guess the cloud cover that covers what's west of Old Charlian too. I can take that. We don't know. But
it's the New World.
Yeah, at least the Garlean, like all around the Garlean Empire, when shout out to Synodic, it was Synodic Scribe who brought this up, like, yeah, why the fuck haven't we got rid of the cloud cover over Garlemald?
Like, so, Sly, let me ask you something. Okay. Have you ever played StarCraft?
No.
Have you ever played Warcraft 3?
The only Blizzard game I touch is Diablo 4.
Okay. So Diablo 4, I'll use an example. You know how in the map in Diablo 4? Yeah. It's the Fog of War. It's exactly what it is. We haven't.
My theory is that when they first showed us that map, planned to keep some of it covered because we were going to go there in a Garlean expansion that they were setting up. And then they decided we're not actually going to do that. And then now they left the cloud cover on it to reveal it during a trailer that never happened. And they're sitting there going, well, now when do we remove it? So they're going to have to wait until their next opportunity for it to be an impactful moment, like when it pulled away during the Stormblood trailer. That's my conspiracy theory, is that it was planned for a trailer that never happened.
Can we just accept the obvious answer? It's just really cloudy over Ilsabard. We don't control the weather. It's just always cloudy there. You know, I had never seen the sun.
Fog of lore.
Yeah, it's the fog of war. It's the fog of lore. There you go. I like that. We're coining that. That's it. That's everyone. Stamp it in. It is now officially the fog of lore.
I like that theory solely because it like reminds me of Mitch Hedberg and his theories. Like, maybe Bigfoot just is blurry. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Can't change my mind. It's made of clouds. So we go through the ether font. We get to just explore that a little bit, but then I guess I'm not that surprised this is still a point that they feel like they need to drive home, but I'm also like, I think you've driven this point home enough. Can people in Garlemald just get the fuck over it at this point? Like, every patch, they gotta fucking fight us on something. Every single patch, they gotta be just assholes for like a half a patch. And then they're like, you know what? You're right. We will be better.
Not all of Garlemald. Not all of them.
Enough.
I mean, yes. The old guard, yes. Yeah, and I'm about tired of them old bitches. But yeah, not all of Garlemald. What's his name? Usus? Euless?
Yeah, Euless.
Yeah. Euless has at least grown. I'll give you that. Euless has done the most growth out of probably everyone in Garlemald. Like, he's gotten over it. It's just the old guard. And, like, again, it's Garlemald. They're set in their ways. They're isolationists, but they want to rule the world, and they want things to go back to the status quo, but they're too broken down. They're too broke, literally, to stand on their own fucking legs.
I think
so. To have to, oh, go ahead.
Okay, no, finish. I didn't know there was more.
No. I was good.
I think when it comes to the old guard, like you were mentioning, that part of it actually I feel like is required for consistency because of the founding mythology of Garlemald, which was that they used to live in the south and they got driven out of their lands into the north, and they've always been very bitter about this, and they always want to reclaim it, and this is like driven them kind of like an inferiority complex from being driven out of their lands, a victim complex for being driven out of their lands. And now they use that as justification to look down on everybody else, to take back from everybody else, to do what was done to them to everyone else. So for there to be at least a few people in the old guard who are just super nationalist still, I feel like I would be more concerned if everybody changed their mind so easily. Because, like, that was one of the things that I felt was consistent, is, like, even when we're having this conversation, this guy's, like, injecting into the conversation, I want you to remember, by the way, that, yeah, the Empire did fall, but Eorzea did not defeat the Empire. We defeated ourselves in Civil War. Nobody beats Garlemald but Garlemald. Like, that felt very, like, on par with the founding mythology and what it would do to you if you use that as, like, your justification for conquest for 50 years.
Thanks, Emmett. Thanks, man. You couldn't have like left me a memo or something to give to them when you fucking disappeared. Like, hey, listen, no, seriously, look, this is him. I promise. It's really him. Yeah, he was an immortal god. We killed him, but he's not immortal. But he says this. Please stop. It's just like every patch. Like, yeah, it's consistent. I get it. It's just like every patch we got to deal with Garlemald being Garlemald still, and I'm just like, I know.
If you were one of, I can't imagine how it must feel if you were one of the players who spent years like defending Garlemald and like pointing out that there are good people there too, and it's going to be very gray, and it's not just going to paint them as assholes, and then we get here and they hammer it over and over and over. I can't imagine how that must feel.
No, fuck them bitches. Hell no. Mm-mm.
People should have stopped saying that as soon as we found out they killed all of the pacifists.
6.4 was very big on hammering on themes repeatedly. Like, how many times in this one patch did it highlight yet again, like, anybody who would destroy another world to save their own sucks? Mm-hmm. Like, that was mentioned at least 3 times in this patch, and I kept joking, like, I can't imagine being someone who, like, really resonated with the Asians, reading that 10 times in one patch and just be like, it's gotta feel like it's rubbing it in.
Yeah. Only other thing I want to say about the Garlemald section is, I mean, Zero and Euless, that's happening, right? We're sending
babies.
We're sending that, right? I'm just making sure everyone's in agreement that we're sending that. Okay.
They're gonna make babies.
I'm down to send it, but I also feel like last patch everyone was shipping Zero and Y'shtola, so maybe Zero is just gonna have a different ship like every patch.
I missed that memo.
You missed that memo where they had that like really interesting handshake?
I mean, I remember the handshake.
I saw a lot of comments about the handshake.
Yeah, I mean, it was a hand. I mean,
Maybe we just like we're on different sections of Twitter.
no, Zero and Estinian was a genuine misunderstanding. She just didn't get what was happening. Just like, shall we all she wanted everyone to disrobe. That was it. She wasn't like
yeah. Weren't we about like 0.5 seconds from getting Zero to get naked?
Yeah.
And then who was it? Estinian fucking stopped it. Fucking Boy Scout. Fuck you.
He doesn't have nipples. He doesn't get it.
The man's out there like sweating Crisco, doing like 800 push-ups in his room.
One arm.
We don't get to. We don't. What?
One arm push-ups. Yeah.
Who gives a shit? And we don't get to see. A topless Zero. Come on, man. Put a goddamn shirt on if you're gonna be about that fucking life.
Reminds me of Anchorman. He's like 998, 999, 1,000. My arm hurts because I did so many. I feel like we walked in on Estinian having one of those moments. Yeah, Vricha was the one who stopped it, not Estinian. Estinian was like, he heard that and he's just like, interesting. Didn't expect that. Yeah, he's game. He may not have game, but he knows game.
For the Garlean scene, there's one other thing I thought was kind of funny is when you show up first, they're actually arguing about whether to destroy some Magitech that are like broken. So there are these Magitech that are like attacking everyone who passes. And they're like, we got to put these things down. They're rampaging everywhere. And the nationalist Garleans are like, no, that's like our tech. You just want to like steal our tech. That's, like you can't damage Garlean assets. And it's like this very defensive posture. And like that rampaging Magitech ends up being the thing that attacks the guy when he tries to leave.
Deserved.
Yeah, I loved that little connection.
I don't know who's dumber, him for saying it or him for then after saying it, stepping out into the place where he knew it was.
I think he knew of it and shared the position. I can't remember the name of the guy who was arguing it when we showed up, but it wasn't him specifically. So there's like a little wiggle room for it not to be the dumbest irony in the world, but it was very, very funny to me that like the position that he would have held is exactly what almost got him killed again.
You know what?
Yeah.
It's exactly what they get for what they're saying. As far as I'm concerned, that's just desserts. Oh man. And then by that point, we're done mostly with our fluff.
Yeah, we've had our curry. We've decided that we need ether because we're going to open up a gate on the moon. Y'shtola comes to the idea that like you're geosynced from one shard to another. So if you leave one shard in one place, you'll appear in a geographically equivalent location in another shard. So we got to go from the moon to the moon, and we need a lot of ether to do it. So we go to Ham to get it, and we're going to transmit it through the Tower of Babel. So we go to Garlemald and deal with that, and then we end up where we are here in the conversation.
Yep. The important things that happened in between all the fluff, basically.
The long story short of how we clear the Garlean section is Varshan comes up with a way to kind of create a mutual exchange that helps their pride a bit, gives them some dignity back. He offers fair trade. So Thavnair is going to help them get supplies to recover in exchange for access to the tower. There's going to be like an exchange of Magitech goods, services, knowledge, and ceruleum in exchange for like all of the wealth of people who want to buy those things from them. So it's going to raise their wealth. It's going to raise their esteem, and it takes them a while to come around to it. But in the end, we got access to the tower.
Yep. And we get to use it all over again. That bright light in the sky, sending a bunch of ether to the moon. I'm always blown away by how Y'shtola concocts this kind of shit. In all honesty, she's just like, well, clearly. Which, don't get me wrong, she said her life goal after the end of Endwalker was to find a means of connecting the shard. So it's perfectly within reason that she could figure this out. But he's always just drops a bomb on you of some shit that's suddenly possible, and it's like, what are you doing? Are you still falling asleep in stacks of books like in 6.1? Is that what's happening right now?
Too many of them have fallen on her head.
And then woken up and her friends are just randomly sitting next to her. Hi.
How long have you been there? Long enough.
Long enough. Yeah. Oh, Y'shtola. Hey, we also had the Thancred moment, too, where he tries to teach Zero something this patch as well. We did have that brief moment as well.
The running theme was trust. Like Sly said, this was every patch has a becoming a person arc for Zero. And I think this one was really encapsulated in Eulis's line. When someone believes in you, it makes you want to believe in them, in others, and in yourself. And I think that one really resonated with her.
Yeah, I'm just waiting on getting to the love portion and her asking all about that. And oh boy. Yeah,
that's 0.5. It's going to be love. It's going to be the love between Vritra and Asdaya. That's what it's going to be. That's going to be what solves the Zerovis problem.
So brother and sister can love one another. Like, yes, but no.
No, yes. The answer is the dragons have no sense of anything. Well, they reproduce asexually anyway, the dragons. So their love is like a completely different definition.
Like, I'm trying to think about how to explain this to baby. Because she's going to ask the question, and we're going to have this talk, and somebody's going to have this talk with her, and I don't know who. Because like, as far as I know, all the fucking scions, quote unquote, are single, and like, well, Urianger, never mind. Fuck, who the fuck am I kidding?
Yeah, he shouldn't. Yeah. He should not be the one explaining anything at all.
I mean, he's had love and lost.
Yeah, I guess.
So has Y'shtola, I guess, even though she hasn't.
Oh no, she doesn't. Dude, she's friend zone Runar ages. He just doesn't get the message.
You don't think that's why she wants to get back to the first?
That's why I'm thinking she wants to, like. Okay, the thing about with the Scions is that they are. I wouldn't call it self-centered, but they have their own motivations. For a while, I thought Urianger's motivation was trying to find a way to get Moonbreeda back for the longest time, and that's why he did what he did early on. While he was with the Warriors of Darkness, quote unquote. Y'shtola, yeah, she's trying to get back to the first. And like all this, like traveling to other shards and everything. No, she wants some daddy kitty.
She ain't gonna make it. She ain't gonna make it easy. She ain't gonna make it easy for
until they give me a better reason. Every answer in my head is a shitpost. So when we were on the first, and she's like, "Yeah, no, I don't like Runar." In my head, that was because she knew she would have to leave him and didn't want to get like emotionally attached to him. And now she's over here like, "Yeah, I just want to figure out how to open gates between the shards for no reason."
I mean, that also is something Y'shtola would want to do, though, at the same time. She's totally, well, I mean, it can be done. Now I got to fucking do it. That's how she's kind of always been at the same time. Oh, man. Regardless, we'll get that answer sooner rather than later, hopefully. But now we ride on the back of a dragon, on the back of Vritra, through a portal in the moon. And that's not a sentence I thought I'd be saying this expansion, but it's practically still not the craziest thing that's happened this expansion.
Imagine trying to explain Endwalker to yourself in Heavensward. Like, it would sound like a terrible 4chan leak.
I don't know. I predicted the moon all the way back in Heavensward. I just predicted it every expansion until we went there, but I did predict it.
I mean, Yoshida-san's been joking about the moon since Heavensward.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He was gonna get there someday.
It was inevitable every expansion, the moon, but it's all the way up there. Fucking Yoshi.
He used the moon to dodge one of Fusion's questions one time.
Yep.
He's like, you guys talked about how you were going to decide between like swimming and flying, and we did flying. So does that mean 4.0 is going to be swimming? And he's like, well, who knows? Maybe we'll fly even higher. Maybe we'll go to the moon.
Fucking Yoshi P. Never change.
Interview master.
Yeah, he's had to get good at it. He's just, everyone tries to squeeze him for stuff. But then we end up in the void on their moon. Big old red moon, pretty much as we saw it at the end of the last patch when they kind of teased that's where Golbez's little sanctum was. And what's there to say? It kind of went as everyone predicted for the most part, with Azdia becoming the Shadow Dragon and, us needing to defeat them together. So I don't know that there's that much to break down. The one big thing is them trying to let you know that Golbez isn't Golbez, which is a very strange and weird lore twist that I haven't really decided what the purpose serves yet.
I'm curious if it serves a deeper purpose. Like, that's one of the two big things I've just kind of not tried to figure out. Like, is there a reason Golbez isn't Golbez? And is there a reason that they mentioned 4 times that Zeromus is the name of an ancient hero? Like, how are these identities going to play into it? And I don't think I could figure it out. And I think if I tried, I would waste 12 hours on it and be wrong.
I almost just think it was a move solely made to humanize Golbez, to like add weight to why he is so committed to this exact crusade.
Mm-hmm.
Because other than that, because the more obvious play would have been to go directly to Final Fantasy IV and name them, after Cecil and God, what's Golbez's real name? I always forget. I just looked at it the other day too.
Durandal?
Yeah, I think that's right. Durand. Oh no, Theodore. No, Theodore is
Theodore.
Is it Theodore? I thought his son was. Oh no, I'm sorry. I mean, original Final Fantasy IV Golbez's real name.
I'm like mixing up all the names of my swords. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
Durandal.
Yeah. I was thinking of the original Final Fantasy IV because he has Golbez is not his real name in Final Fantasy IV. He has a.
So is Golbez more of a?
It's the D. It's the D name. Durante, Durandal.
Is Golbez more of a, not name but title? You think?
No, I think it's his friend.
It sounds like one.
Yeah, it kind of does. Because what's his friend's? Because his name is Durante, but they kept whoever Golbez's actual name is out of it. Like that. That's the person who they left the mystery. I
think sword is Durandal. Guy with sword is Durante. We're gonna put my chips there.
That's not what it is. That's not what it is. That's fine. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's just it was just the only question I had coming out of the patch, because it was just weird how Durante took Golbez's name essentially and said, "Well, I'm going to do that to honor him." And I just didn't. I was like, "Okay, that's a neat detail. I just wonder if it serves a bigger purpose."
I'm willing to believe the humanization angle. Mid story, we see an echo where they're out together, and one of them prays for the defeated, and the other is like, "Yeah, I would never do that. You're a better man than me." And I feel like that might be kind of a running theme in this whole thing, that Golbez was not really what he believes him to be, that he was a better man than that. And that may play into the ending and it may not, but either way, you're right, it does humanize him.
And around this time when we're seeing the Durante and Golbez, we also see Zero. We see early Zero, and man, early Zero's a bitch. I mean, to be fair, like all the what were they called? What were the knights on the drug called? Like the Memoriam. Yeah, the Memoriats. All the Memoriats were untrustworthy, but yeah, she was a bitch.
I think she was just, that was the whole end of the world, because the world was already falling to pieces by the time they met Like it wasn't like, hey, we're still in the we can fix this kind of thing. No, it was already like fucked at that point.
And they even said that pretty much most of the Memoriates are pretty much untrustworthy. Nobody trusts anyone. Like it was like
even the Memoriates said that.
No.
Yeah.
And she did have a point. If I saw someone who looked like Golbez and they said, "Yeah, I'm trying to help people," I'd be like, "No, you're not. You're full of shit.
You're not."
Look at you, dude. I'm scared, and I can fight. Like, what the fuck? The
Memoriates that were dying looked at Durante and Golbez and went like, "You guys should look out for each other. Knife in the back. That's how this always goes." I would actually blame Out of World for this one. I would blame the theme of the writers for this one, because this whole patch is about like trust. Mm-hmm. This is from the very start of the patch to the end of the patch, the whole running theme is trust and Zero learning about trust. And I feel like by setting up that scene where Zero is offered a space in their party and she's like, "Fuck off," that's setting up her to realize that if she had learned to trust, maybe this would have gone a different way. And that she won't miss the chance to trust again because of that experience.
Yeah. I think all the scenes with the past are literally just... I think they're just setting up characters as they are now and trying to give them depth. Because they are trying to squeeze a whole lot of character depth into characters that have not been around for long. And in the case of Golbez, very likely will not be around for long.
I just thought of something.
Yeah?
Zero's kind of like Wolverine, a little bit.
Yeah, you know what? I got it. I see that.
No.
She goes from the scene at the bar. She's like, "Hello, I'm Charles." Fuck off. And she's old as fuck.
She's old as fuck too. So
yeah. No, she goes from telling two dudes who walk in a bar trying to recruit them to a school of mutants, saying "fuck off," to traveling through time to save one of their lives and save the future. Yeah. No, I got it. Yeah. I got the storyline. We're good. You're talking about the Fox movies specifically. I can tell.
Yeah. I'm glad you.
I don't know if I'm just like seeing shapes in the clouds, but yeah, I see it.
Well, if somebody's molding them, then yeah, you'll see shapes.
Especially
in the clouds.
if the Scions, the weird group of mutants, have been shoved together with their weird powers and conflicting personalities, and yet they're all like kind of harmony. Yeah.
There you go. Minfilia was Charles Xavier the whole time. Oh my fucking god, what is this game? Anyway, and we beat Golbez. He's surprised for some reason. He shouldn't be at this point. I don't know why anyone's ever surprised. He seemed to understand how strong we were from the get-go. Like, he wasn't really... He's like, "Oh, they lost. The Fiends lost. Okay. That was expected. I expected to lose them all at this point." And then, what I thought was a decent twist, something I'm shocked I didn't pick up with on the trailer, I was using Asdaya as the Shadow Dragon as the heart of Zeramis. Like, using their personality traits and what was left of them as a Voidling. As this, like, means of giving Zeramis direction and power. And commanding over it. I mean, it was just... I didn't see that coming at all.
I picked up on the Shadow Dragon angle, but I never would have predicted how we got here. Like, especially with everybody trying to connect Zero and Zeramis the entire time, and like bending over, like twisting themselves into kind of a lore pretzel trying to make that work.
I got so tired of that so fucking quick. I'm like, no, it's not fucking happening. Please, no, stop. Just stop. No.
It's okay, because next patch you get to hear Zero Mussy in Party Finder over and over again. So you'll get something even worse at this point. I'm already hearing it, so we're screwed. Enjoy that one. Yeah, it's just like, but Zeramis's face in the trailer, I never once thought of. I was like, oh, that's Asdaya's face. And it is, but it does look a lot like Zeramis's actual face from Final Fantasy IV. I never drew that. That's the second time I haven't drawn a Final Fantasy IV connection in this expansion. Like, when Estinian says, "You're not the only one who can ride the winds," Kain says the same fucking thing in Final Fantasy IV against Barbaricha. I never picked up on it. So I felt dumb twice now. Oh man, but yeah.
Speaking of Estinian, the line that I loved here was Ashdaya looks at Estinian and goes, "If such is thine attempt at encouragement, you are as graceless as Nidhogg."
Yeah.
And after like Heavensward really hammering home that Estinian and Nidhogg were basically the same person, I loved that.
I feel like they drove that home really well in 5.5 also with Tiamat. When you go to free Tiamat and he kind of stands there. I mean, every time he meets a dragon, he becomes like a sibling to them, essentially.
Yeah.
So.
I'm glad they kept it running, because at first it kind of hit me as like a Marty Sue thing. Like, he is way too powerful and cool all of a sudden. And he just gets to like go from being like kind of the foil of Nidhogg to being like actually a little bit of the inheritor of Nidhogg's spirit and carrying on now that there's only one of them. And to see him interact with the dragons that way is really interesting.
That draconic ether he got to keep. I mean, it's gone along. I mean, he still has like all of this Nidhogg inside of him. It's just, it feels like it's influenced his personality. And it almost feels like Nidhogg's will directly comes out whenever he's in the presence of his siblings, but like the pre-madness Nidhogg, not the post-madness.
I don't know if I'm giving the team too much credit, but I think someone sat down and was thinking like, if Nidhogg was fully destroyed and dead and gone and there was nothing left, then he would have to put down the Azure Dragoon too. Like, this is kind of like a Batman Joker kind of thing. Like, they were both, Nidhogg and Estinian were both people that like lost a sibling in violence and held a grudge and lived only to avenge that grudge. And I think the difference between them is that one made friends and challenged their instincts and the other didn't. And so like, I feel like if Nidhogg wasn't still around in some form, there would be no Azure Dragoon either. So I feel like the fact that we're still going to have Estinian in the story being a Dragoon necessitates that he has some connection to Nidhogg still, that Nidhogg isn't fully gone. And I really like that dynamic all of a sudden.
Yeah. Now it's just, he's met Tiamat, he's met Fritra, he's met Asdaya. Ratatoskr is gone, Bahamut's gone. Which dragon am I forgetting? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not Midgard. Midgard needs to wake the fuck up also. But
did you mention Hraesvelgr in your thing? You were talking really fast.
Yeah, he doesn't. I don't really recall him having very many brotherly conversations with Hraesvelgr yet.
He had one in the short story when he got his new armor from him.
When he gets when he gets the 5.0, I think it is set. The 4.0, the 4.0 AF set. That's what it was. The Stormblood AF set. Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh yeah, I remember missing that question in Erzivio about how he got it. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And names it Iceheart.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's it. That's the one. That's the moment. It just wasn't on screen. Yeah, I had forgotten about that short story until now. Damn. Okay. Good. Yeah. I was looking to complete all the dragons who are still alive have like gotten to hang out with Estinian. Yeah. Because that short story is very good. Yeah. Well, I mean, Ratatoskr. He's not gonna go say hi to Ratatoskr and Bahamut anytime soon. Not a real one, at least.
Dofnir.
What? No, Vidofnir's not an original. That's one of Hraesvelgr's brood.
No. Didn't we have a dragon named Dofnir? I just
named all 7 dragons. All 7 of the big mommy daddy dragons.
Oh.
Yeah, Hraesvelgr, Ratatoskr, Bahamut, Tiamat, Nidhogg, Fritra, Asdaya. And then Midgard's armor is biggest daddy. But he's asleep right now. And will probably be asleep for about 200 more years. Because he's an asshole. He chomped on one barrier in Omega and he's like, that's it. I'm fucking off. I'll see you later. That's it.
I would be annoyed as hell if Midgardsormr woke up like within the next patch or two, just because he didn't wake up in Endwalker.
Yeah.
How do you not include him in the ending? How do you not include him?
They included. Listen. We had Vritra. You know, I
understand that we had to cut a lot out to make it all work. We had an expansion that was set up and didn't happen with the Garlean stuff. We had 10 years of story that had no exit strategy. I understand some sacrifices need to be made, but he was in the first trailer. How do you leave him out?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be salty about that for a while.
Were the scales we got from Midgardsormr's corpse the ones that we used for the Void and for that, or were they from like Vritra? I can't remember.
I think Vritra donated them.
I don't remember. I don't remember them.
If I
being
remember
from
right, there was
Midgardsormr's
even
corpse.
I feel like I remember there actually being like a visible asset of him missing scales.
Chat saying that Midgardsormr woke up just long enough to say take some scales. I don't remember that. I'll have to redo it. It's yeah. So they took them from from everyone except Asdaya. So there you go. Yeah, that scene, I haven't watched that scene in ages because that's the big scene where all of the side story characters come together, I think, where we get the scales. Yeah,
Chad giving me confabulation over here.
Yeah, Chad's got a few different answers, but
later.
Yeah, that scene. It's that scene. It's the scene where all the side characters are on the docks. Every side quest that you've done all comes together. But now we have Zeramis. We have our big bad for 6.5. Pretty obvious who our trial is going to be. And now it's a question of how loyal the Final Fantasy IV do they want to be for the last bit. Because there's one very obvious solution to the Zeramis thing. There's this crystal that we picked up early that Y'shtola gave to us, and that's how you give Zeramis' true form a physical form so he can be fought, is with a crystal of light. Just hold the crystal up, banishes all the darkness, and then he has a physical form and you kill it.
Well, that's where Y'shtola's going, is to get light.
Mm-hmm. And I think I want to go to the first as much as I want Gaia to play a part in something because I want Gaia involved. I think she's going to get left out. At most, she'll get a dialogue line where if you've done Eden, that Reen just goes, oh yeah, she's off doing something. That's it. Done. So sad. I want Gaia to be involved in MSQ.
It's weird because like I can put all of the pieces together for how we get where we are, but usually that would tell me where we're going, and in this case it doesn't totally, unless it's just what everybody says they're doing is what happens. Like we got the explanation of, you know, getting to the Void Moon itself was really special because we had like Allagan research and help from the Watcher and all sorts of like weird etherochemical regulating of the gate and restored Zodiark swords to block the way in so nothing could get in. And it was like, it's this whole special scenario. And then you get over to the other side and Golbez explains to you very helpfully that, you know, it's the void. So whenever spiritual ether, soul ether, anything kind of dies, it doesn't go to a flow. It doesn't get reborn. It turns into a void set. So since when Zodiark on the source died, he dissolved in every dimension. There's all that ether waiting for somewhere to go and waiting to be reborn as something. So he throws Ashdaya in there to be eaten by that, and we get Zeramis. And they're saying Y'shtola is going to go to the first. She's going to get a ton of light. She's going to find a way to get it to the void, because we have to fight it in the void. We can't fight it in the source, or Ashdaya will die. So the idea is that we have to bring the light to the void. I think you're right. Use that to give him a physical form that we can even get close to, because we can't even get close to him. Use that light to give him a physical form that we can kill, and then when we kill him, Ashdaya's spirit will be released from him. And then I'm like, how do we unvoid sent Ashdaya at this point?
Love.
Because they keep
theme.
acting like she can. Have we ever seen anything unvoid sent before? And they're all acting like Vreetra's just gonna go, hey, remember me? Think really hard. We're like really close, and I want you to remember who you are. And she's gonna be like,
Besides
you're right. I'm no
Zero?
longer a void sent.
Not Zero, Nero, but he's not fully corrupted. He's not like Asdaya levels of corrupted. That's where he's got the cuts and it like starts seeping into his body while he's in the world of darkness. And then he escapes the world of darkness and it all resolves. So
that's the big question: is if okay, so Zero tells us that she's not really a full Void Sen. She's a half Void Sen.
She's
because
a
she was
Vothri.
corrupted.
She's like Vothri. She's half and half. Yeah.
Yeah, corrupted in the womb, and then was never really a true Void Sen. And so, like, if that's the reason that we were able to save her, are we able to save anyone else? Like, is Azhdaya half Void Sen? I don't get it. So I don't know. I'm sure there's going to be an excuse for it, but they're laying the groundwork for Vritra to just, sing a dragon song and Azhdaya to go, "You're right, I'm not a Void Sen," and we all live happily ever after.
I mean, if anything was going to do it, a dragon would do it. I wonder if we outfit like a chainmail made of dragon scales from the other three or something.
To me, like, I don't know, like, and I'll give them credit for this. Every time I've asked how the hell is this going to work in Endwalker, the answer in the end was it doesn't. It doesn't work at all. So, like, I asked the question, like, how the hell could we get from here to Zodiark being restored? And the answer was you can't. It just doesn't happen. So maybe the answer is we don't say right. Maybe there's a tragic ending to all this. But they're certainly laying the groundwork to make us think it's possible, and they're going to try.
I mean, the more important groundwork is where the fuck we're going. Because I think the big thing with Zeramis is it can bust through dimensions. Like, it can absolutely just break through that barrier and go to the source.
It's a Void Sen with Zodiark strength. I don't know, like, all of it or most of it or what.
All of the 13ths, like, equivalent, I'd assume.
And then we throw, all of the 13th equivalent, and then we throw Azhdaya in there to be eaten by it. And the idea is that, like, Tiamat so longs to go home that, like, when one Void Sen eats another, it takes on some of their personality. And being this newborn thing with no direction, all it has is Tiamat's desire to return home. So it's going to use all of its power to try to do that. Azhdaya.
Yeah.
What did I say?
You said
my
Tiamat.
Brain glitched. Tiamat? Oh, brain glitched.
Tiamat can join us. That's fine.
Yeah. So it's got, like, all of Azdaya's desire to return home. So it's just going to try to tear that open, like you said.
And I wonder if that's what they use as, basis to start going play. Maybe I still think that, like, there's going to be a big, like, void, like, whatever damage Zeramis does is going to have lasting effects on the source, but it's going to affect Meracidia and whatever the most.
Oh, you think this is going to set up the changes?
Yeah, I think that's going to set up, like, something happening in Meracidia, and then us needing to go down there with Tiamat, follow up with that, and then Vritra's still in Thavnair. He connects us to Meracidia, and then we go with Azhdaya over to the New World, and Azhdaya settles down in the New World, and we get our little side adventure with her.
All this cool theorizing I've been missing, focusing on the New World.
Yeah, that's assuming Azhdaya makes it. But if Azdaya's going to need a home, and Azhdaya, I think, probably would not want to go back to Meracidia. I think there's enough bad memories there. Definitely doesn't want to go back to Eorzea. Not to mention we have Race Velger there. I think they settle over in the New World.
I have no idea what to expect. None.
Nope.
Absolutely none.
Which is kind of exciting.
I came up with one idea, and I decided I would believe it until it was proven wrong, and I have gotten no support or refutation since then. So it's just, I have no idea what's going on.
Well, I think that makes everyone with Endwalker. We're just like, okay, we're doing this. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but we're doing it. That's
so yeah, definitely correct me when my brain glitches. I'm sure you noticed with, like, even trying to remember Durante, like, my brain likes to pull names from the same folder, same file cabinet. just keeps on going.
Same letter section. Durandal, Durande. Yeah,
it's gotta be. I'm just gonna, like, blame it on getting old. Like, I'm getting old, and I'm gonna start mistaking all the names of things for things with other names, like I hated when people did when I was a child.
That's fine. We didn't even remember half of that shit until we started recording the show in the first place. So we're good. But that's where we leave off now. Those are the plans. That's what's going in 6.5, and it's just about how that even gets us into the expansion, which realistically 0.55 will probably entirely encapsulate events taking us to the expansion. because we do know they're going to probably do that like 1 part, 2 part thing again. It's unlikely they go away from that. So we'll probably deal with Zeramis in part 1 of 6.5 and then get to the expansion stuff in the second part. And because they said that it would be very sudden, like the shift to the expansion, like something massive would happen and we would just suddenly know, like it would just make sense in game why we were going where
we haven't had that happen in
but they
a
said it
while,
would be in
honestly.
0.5. Like they said, like we at some point in the final bit of story, it would just be like, that makes sense. That's why we're doing that. Okay.
Yeah, we haven't had that like oh shit moment to connect us between expansions, and it's ever since 2.5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With that, I think we've largely covered the MSQ. There weren't any little eyeball quests this time around. We took care of that with the 4 lords, or with the 4 fiends. Sorry. So that leaves us with technically a couple of other story bits. There is Andon, of course, who, going back to our male Viera in the forest story, hilariously ties into that. So, if somebody said that if you're a male Viera, when you do the Andon quest line, they actually do tell you to come back to the forest for some fucking. So maybe Aaronville can do it. Maybe he can. Andon can. You can, apparently. So, fair enough. We had the Loprits also this patch, if I'm not mistaken. No, that was last patch. My bad. Did we talk
last
about the
patch,
Loprits?
yeah.
I don't remember if we did a 6.3 spoiler cast. That's why it's on my head. Yeah.
You want to talk about the Loprits?
No, I love them.
NPR?
We had Depressing Way. That was
Now we have Loprit NPR.
That's true. Fucking Depressing Way.
Hey, Pash has got it. Yeah, in the chat, I've got a running joke of trying to prove that the Loprits have souls.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, we did the Loprit robot section with 0 this patch. That's why they were on my mind. I forgot about that.
The in-game lore book says that they are arcane entities, which means they're not living, they're not alive, they don't have souls. And I'm like, no, that makes me sad. Loprits have to have souls. They develop them over time, like some of the other things we've seen in the game. I've been jokingly trying to prove it for a bit. You can actually get one line in this patch too. 0 is like, hey, I wonder if there were. I don't actually, it might not have been 0. I don't remember who said it. I think it. Let's go with 0. They're like, oh, I wonder if there were Loprits on the Void's moon, but if so, they'd all be Void sent by now, which makes me think they must have been living. Ergo, they must have had souls. I'm gonna keep trying to prove it every batch till we get there.
Yeah, Tweeting Way has a soul. We'll go with that.
Tweeting Way is the only one we know.
Yeah,
we know for sure Tweeting Way has a soul. That's our black swan right there. We got proof.
Yeah, and through Top, we kind of learned that Omega, like in his own way, developed a soul. He learned how to use Dynamis at least. One would assume he needed a soul for that at some point. Which still kind of makes sense. With what we know with the Omicrons, it's so much that they didn't lose souls, it's that they kind of just automated their souls to the point where they didn't have personalities anymore. So I think that's fair enough to assume Omega would have had a soul in the first place. So yeah, we got all sorts of stuff with that. But yeah, that's why the Loprits are on my mind, is because I forgot we had the little test round with 0 against the against the fucking robots. That was one.
I love all those. I love all the scenes of the Loprits trying their best and not even coming close. They're all so endearing. It's like it's a different take on Moogle energy.
Yeah, one I can tolerate.
Are you still mad at Moogles?
I'm definitely still mad at Moogles.
Wow, after Yoshida's Love Moogles Again campaign?
It's fucking failed. Didn't work. Fuck those things. Next patch, Mog Unreal. Nope, now I'm 100% certain. Now it's really driven home. Fuck that. Okay, so those are all the other smaller tidbits, but there is one other major tidbit. We have our sign off to Pandemonium.
Panda Express.
The Panda Express. And what a sign off it was to finally loop it all back to A Realm Reborn and even Shadowbringers and Endwalker in a sense. What a finale. I think it was my favorite finale of the Raid series, having thought back to it now.
I thought they did a great job with that one.
I don't know. I still did kind of like the ending to Alexander.
Yeah, I love the ending to Alexander. That one's up there for me too. But like this, I think this one was kind of weighted to our hearts because the events there are very recently, not the recency bias of the quest itself, but the recency bias of Endwalker and its relevance to Endwalker kind of gives it a fresher take. Now the real question is, as Anonymoose alluded to pre-show, do you remember what happened at the start of Pandemonium? How did we get here, Sly?
I think I've got like Pandemonium 1 and 2 or start of 3.
You mean like do you mean the tiers?
Like the start? Yeah, like are we starting at the start of the tier or are we starting at the start of the raid? Like how much backstory are we given here?
Well, time is stupid.
Well, I mean, so the big thing with Pandemonium is that we are essentially we're sent back into Elpis because they find that stone over in Aporia, and we use that kind of as our original basis to go back, and we immediately run into Thema. It's like we fall on his head. Like that's how far back this goes, is all the way to just literally crashing into Themis.
And I love how they set that up too, because he tells you immediately, like Azem told him to stand there.
What a fucking asshole.
Like
he or she, depending on what the player is an asshole.
I have so many questions about that. Like, I feel like they were almost setting up that Azem was brought into the loop by Vana at some point and had some knowledge of how to execute this plan, and then it never manifested. So, like, maybe I just made that whole thing up, and Azem is just goofy like we are.
Yeah. Something's clearly given way there that isn't fully explained. But the point is we use that as our introduction to Pandemonium, and I think theories about Pandemonium kind of started off so much differently than the way it ended up ending.
I simultaneously guessed completely right and completely wrong at the same time. It was a fun journey.
So what was completely right and what was completely wrong?
So when we first got in, I picked up immediately on like just kind of the way they were structuring the dialogue that we were going to find out that La Habrea did care about Eric. That La Habrea had a softer side to him and was deeply conflicted about everything that happened with Athena, and that all of these accusations against him were not going to be word for word correct. But I thought that this was everything that I thought was going to be in tier 3 was in tier 2. And that's what got me really confused, because I thought what we were going to figure out was that the same whispers that were affecting everyone and kind of bringing out their inner desires and warping their inner desires, that La Habrea was going to end up being the victim of these two. And that this was all going to be about him trying to bring Athena back. And so I felt like I was going down the right track. And then they showed that there were like 2 La Habreas. And I was like, oh, this is about to go in a very different direction.
Fucking Hephaestus. Oh, man. See, from the beginning, I always tried to predict based on what was actually happening. And seeing Eric as the very first fight, I thought they were going with an Eden route. And I thought Eric was going to be the very final fight, essentially. I wasn't wrong, technically, again, because Athena is using the reborn Eric's body as her host body.
Semantics.
She even uses chain attacks and everything. Like, those are what the chains are. Those are Eric's chains that she's using to destroy the arena. You know, I got it, but like I thought it was like he was gonna be the actual La Habrea, and like the La Habrea from before was gonna have done some shit. So
there were a lot of theories about who the real La Habrea was going to be and how, and I really enjoyed trying to figure those out with people because I could not do it. When we first fought Eric, he had La Habrea's mask on his helmet. He had a crystal with La Habrea's sigil on his belt. I was like, oh, maybe they're right, but And then
And
we
it still
saw,
kind of
you know,
makes sense now that we know what was driving them all to that, because if it was supposed to be about his inner desires, his father's approval is, or just his father's love and approval is kind of at the top. So La Habrea being part of that initial outfit, it still checks pretty much all this time later.
they did a good job telling us everything we needed to know and not too much to figure out the ending. Like I figured this was all going to be about Athena from the start, but the way it ended up being about Athena is not what I imagined at all. They did a good job with that.
Mm-hmm. And then the first tier kind of starts as just, Pokemon. It's like, go collect them, go collect them, go collect them. And that's like the first two fights are that. There's not really much to say about them. We just kind of learn a bit about Pandemonium and set it up. And the big thing is we learn about the Key Wardens with Hesperos, who also has gone through the same process as the other Key Wardens has, where he's amplified, his desires are amplified, and he's apparently a La Habrea simp, which we learn later on is still not entirely how it worked because of what happens with Hegemony or whatever her name is. Yeah, Hegemony. And I forgot, it's one thing I forgot. I forgot Hesperos killed himself. I actually forgot that had happened because I was like,
Did you?
Yeah, because I was like, oh, he saved Hegemony. What happened to Hesperos? And I was like, oh, that's right. He fucking killed himself. And he's like, Allah, Brea, be proud of me.
I feel like I made so many jokes about him that I actually remembered him way more than Hegemony. I feel like we'll have to complement each other's knowledge on that one.
Well, I mean, I remember most about him. I just forgot that's how it ended with him. I just that part I blanked out of my head that he was dead. Because I just saw Hegemony and I was like, wait, so can we save Hesperos too? And I was like, how? How do you plan on doing that? I was like, I don't know, maybe didn't we not jail him? No, he broke out and killed himself.
We were like, yeah, you're defeated. Tell us the truth now. And Hot Chocula was like, nope.
Hot Chocula? God damn. That's the best nickname I've heard.
I can't call him anything else. We were midstream and that name just slipped out. And I was like, no, that's it. That's his only name now.
My raid mates at the time called him Hot Chocula as well.
Did they?
Never heard anyone call him Hot Chocolate before this moment. I think DSR and Top may have removed a lot of memories from Hesperos, especially DSR, but, all I see is the Castlevania joke. That's all I ever think of whenever I see Hesperos. I don't even think of a name. What is a man? That's the only quote that comes to mind. But we ended that tier. That tier very much began as most raid tiers begin, where it's a lot about explaining why, what is happening without explaining why it's happening, and getting all the characters in the front of the stage. And then we go into Abyssos, and it's a fucking massive drop of just all this shit that, like you said, I think most people would have thought was saved for the last tier. Heck, I'll even say this. Looking at Hephaestus as a both normal mode and savage mode boss, very much looks and feels more like the final boss of the whole 12 fights than I think Athena and Ultima or Pallas Athena ends up being. So and they said they aimed for that. They said for the second tier Abyssos, they aimed because it was La Habrea. Technically, it was a La Habrea rematch, that it needed to feel like the final boss of
Well, that's what everything. I needed. Yeah. That's what I needed Pandemonium to be. Was they had it? They didn't flesh La Habrea out as being equivalent to Elidibus and Emmet Selk, even though later in the story that was the trio was supposed to be this big thing. And then you had this one person in the trio who, through several expansions of villain decay, looked kind of like a chump. We needed to fix that. We needed to flesh out his humanity a bit. We needed him to make him look more powerful. We needed to stop making excuses about kind of his body hopping and the weakness and all of the things that explained why we beat him at level 50. But he needed to be cool again. So I'm glad that we got that final boss level middle tier.
And not to mention, they made him daddy. Look at him. He's literally daddy, with Eric, and look, he's a well-established, he looks like a well-established gentleman.
My favorite part of Pandemonium, even just the last couple expansions by far together, is if you go back to 2.0 and you look at our, like back then it felt like there were two levels of antagonists. We had our like political human gray area Garlean antagonists, and we had our black and white, light and darkness, super magical Asian antagonists, right? And we end up in Praetorium, and it's the most unlikely match ever. You know, we got La Habrea on one side, and we got Gaius on the other, and it's the unholy alliance of two people who have nothing in common. And then you flash forward to this patch where you see both of them without their masks, and they look like the same old daddy.
Good old Laha Daddy.
They look so similar. I can't get over that. That's just, if you like, if I could,
You can't get over daddies, apparently.
send back the knowledge of that one to my 2.0 self again, it would feel like a bad 4chan league.
Yeah, especially because whatever body or form he's taking in 2.0, he looks like a baby-faced bitch. So to see him like as he is now is just like, it's a very different feeling looking at actual La Habrea when you go into Abyssos. But what we ended up learning about Abyssos in the final tier, and then Abasios ends up being interesting because like Abyssos is trying to set up this. It starts as the Pokemon game again, and immediately goes away from being the Pokemon game after the first fight, because we meet Hephaestus, which is a huge question because everyone was like, the artwork leading up to it very much presents to you the normal La Habrea and then has the upside down imagery with Hephaestus. And you can see La Habrea's mask on both of them. So there's this huge question of the half mask that we've seen and the double personality. Like everyone kind of started leaning there, but it still took us in a direction that gave us something that finally started to explain or at least make us understand how current La Habrea got the way he is. Because Hephaestus is exactly who we thought La Habrea was, kind of a cartoon villain in a sense.
Yep.
And then combined with actual Hephaestus / La Habrea's knowledge becomes a threat, essentially.
I loved the third tier for how it handled that. Because again, like the second tier contained all the stuff that I thought was going to be in the final tier. And that's when they seal him back away in the crystal, in the red crystal. And I remember being like, so how the hell do we get to the La Habrea that we know? Like, does Eric look at the red crystal? Does La Habrea look at his own crystal? Does he get remanifest somehow? Is La Habrea just always like that when he breaks mentally? Like, I had a lot of questions about that. So the scene where he like puts it back on, I was like, yes. Like, that was a good
does
scene.
it too. It's the most anime shit ever. Oh man. But it's not even just that. It was like how much of it. The funny thing with Abyssos is it was clear the daddy issues were done and all that was left were the mommy issues. So it kind of gave us exactly the answer of what the third tier would be at the same time as like kind of taking over all the lore. Sly, what's wrong? That's exactly what happened. We learned Athena was crazy. That was the whole thing for Abyssos.
I'm just mad that we went there.
What? That's what happened.
I know. I'm just like,
he thought he had daddy issues and he loved mom. Now he loves dad and he hates mom. He saw the other side of the story.
Yeah, that's my problem. Like, this whole thing was child psychology gone wrong.
Yeah, it was fucked up. Eric got dealt a shit fucking hand by
we cannot fix her. We don't want to fix her, albeit how hot she is. Like, no, we don't want to fix her.
I mean, that's part of why she's that hot is because you can't fix her. Right?
Not with that little crazy sideways face like this.
Yeah, she doesn't do that all the time. That's fine.
No.
Just cross that box out. You're good.
They got Marge Simpson energy right now. It's true, but he shouldn't say it.
I forgot about that. Oh, man. And yeah, I don't know. I retroacted. This always happens with the final tier. I always look back at the previous 2 tiers and find things I liked more retroactively. I think Alexander probably the most guilty of that. This very much feeds into that same thing. But going into the final tier, I mean, things just got cranked up. I mean, even the end of Abyssos finding Pandemonium randomly in the Ethereal Sea was on the Itai scope was. That was a hell of a bomb drop at the end of Abyssos to just have this modern Pandemonium just sitting there. And everyone's like, why? And then we find out why, and it's like, oh, that's not good.
It's weird because like I got it in my head that this is where it was going with Athena at the end of 2. And then I was completely wrong about why. And I don't know how I got there. Like, they were talking about how the ancients couldn't create souls and transcending the flesh wasn't possible. And I'm like, wait, isn't that like the whole point? Isn't that the echo? Like, doesn't La Habrea call that the true power of the echo? Why are they acting like transcending the flesh and like merging souls is this huge thing? And I'm like, oh, did Athena invent that? Did Athena invent transcending the flesh, and she was like learning how to like merge with creation? So did she like invent the Asian super sex thing, and then like that they did a yeah, or they merged
Asian Prime, yeah. No, I got it. I've just never heard it referred to as Asian super sex.
We are definitely on different Twitter spheres. I suspected it early on in the conversation. I have confirmation now.
Don't worry, that was just my phone letting me know about the super sex. That's fine.
And
Sorry,
they even like recreate the scene where it's like, I am become you, we are become one. Like they have an echo to that scene and that whole thing. And I thought it was going to be so much more important to the 3rd tier than it ended up being. They never really came back to that.
Gonna have a really hard time following this conversation now after the super sex thing. That's gonna stay with me deep in my soul.
Yeah, I felt like they had focused on all of that for a deeper reason, but really Athena just felt as a citizen of Amarat that the being able to create and manipulate souls was the one thing that represented godhood to her, to a population that had creation magics, who can do anything they wanted. Being able to create and manipulate souls was the symbol of deification. And I thought it was just so much more than that. And I was surprised that it didn't end up being that.
Yeah, it ended up being not even necessarily about what she wanted. It was about how it was amplified by the heart of Sabik. I mean, at the end of the day,
nowhere, I loved it.
Yeah, it ends up literally being down to this tool that was given to them in a very ancient time. So that's kind of the big thing is we kind of already knew Ultima was something far more nefarious when we did the Ivalice raids. That being said, it being something that essentially handed Athena pre-sundering, and it's this like deadly tool, this alien tool that is just like fucked with it. It opened a gate that now nobody can forget about, because that's all anyone's going to be thinking about when it comes to these aura sites and everything. Is what their actual origin is. Not just are they from Ultima, but what the fuck is Ultima's actual origin before we killed her ass in Ivalice. So can you pick a place? Stop walking back and forth. You good? Good. Yeah. But then that becomes the whole plotline. It becomes about the heart of Sabik and Athena just kind of being another victim, and kind of everyone being a victim of it by the end of it all.
That's why I spent so much time researching the end instead of the beginning. That I forgot so much at the beginning because of the Sabik stuff. When they first mentioned it, I got really, really nervous, really mixed feelings.
Why?
Because as soon as they dropped the name Heart of Sabik, I was like, oh, this is it. They're finally bringing it back. They're finally addressing it. It's been like this, we joke about it all the time. They've never answered the Heart of Sabik. They never used the Heart of Sabik. Where's the Heart of Sabik? What happened to the Heart of Sabik? and now like the moment has come. So it's going to be like, does it live up to the hype or does it not? And so I was really excited to see it and really nervous they wouldn't do it justice. And I like I was riding that ambivalence the whole rest of the story.
And where you landed?
Where I have landed is that I am weirdly okay with it. I am weirdly good with it. Like my baseline is Minfilia's dad for when they answer old questions, because he had a story in the Uldan 1.0 intro where he was killed during the parade, and they were going to try to resurrect him so that he could like say the secrets he knew. And he was like assassinated, and Minfilia was like terrified by what she saw. And so the guy who tried to resurrect him got stabbed from behind by a guy in a cloak. And that seemed like it was like this really big, important thing. And then we came back and we were going to answer the story. What about Minfilia's dad? What about the guy who got killed trying to resurrect him? What is that going to be? And they brought it back in the Alchemist quest, and they were like, oh, he was probably just trying to warn us about Dalamud. And I'm like, you guys didn't even know Dalamud existed. You didn't write that yet. Like, what was it really? And I remember being like, how could you? Because as a 1.0 player, I know that Yoshida was not around to have invented Dalamud by the time that story was in progress.
Well, actually, do you want to know a fun fact about Dalamud and 1.x?
Yes. Actually, yes. Do I have that mistaken?
Before Yoshida took over the project, Dalamud was supposed to be an end game zone we were going to go to.
I remember hearing this, yep.
We were originally supposed to physically go to Dalamud, and it would have been like a Final Fantasy 11 type style sky or sea or whatever. So we actually early on the seeds of it would have been there. So it almost still checks out.
Where did you learn that? Because I remember him joking, and this I didn't know whether like how serious it was or not, but I remember him joking that he was just like, yeah, we need to figure out how to destroy the world.
It's a 1.x. I have to go to the live letters from before 2.0 launched, because it's I think it's
that's like, cool. Yes. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So it would have been a zone kind of like the end of Rise of Silver.
Yes, precisely. Or the end of Chains of Promethea. Yes, it would have been an end game zone where you go around fighting bosses. Yes, spawning bosses, killing bosses.
So that would have been a.
What was its name back then?
It was still Dalamud.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So Bahamut was still going to be there anyway.
That I don't think they ever confirmed if Bahamut. Essentially it was centered to the story, but there was I don't think they had any intention of it.
This is where it's going to get like really. This is where it's going to get really weird. But the name Dalamud is a corruption of the name Bahamut.
Yeah. So it's entirely like, possible, but
how did that happen?
They've never. I mean, it's possible that was the intent, that it was a prison all along, and that Yoshida just took that information that the team already had, obviously, and then decided to drop it on and do that.
Well, great. Now I have more questions than ever.
Yeah, see, I knew, like, I heard that it was going to be like an in-game zone. I didn't think it was going to be like, you know.
Yeah, they never said anything when they talked about that, like that original plan for it. They never once said Bahamut's name, so there's no way of knowing how much of it was like there, or if Bahamut was just going to be on. Because you got to remember, in Final Fantasy IV, Bahamut's on the moon. So, like, Bahamut being on the moon or being the king of the moon, like, any of that could have made sense and could have been, like, an end thing. But there's no way of knowing exactly where that was going to go. But it was supposed to be a zone originally. We were supposed to go there in 1.x.
I'm with Zelion on this one. Do you have any insider knowledge about the presence of Silvertear Lake?
I feel like that's something they told us we were going to answer, and they never did. Because we
went into the 12 thing, and we were going to get the answer to that with this current 24 man. Yeah, we thought we were going to get the answer to that in this 24 man. It's something completely different. So hopefully,
I mean, we could still answer it. We do have that final
we got one more chance.
Yeah, because the fact that the rift is in Silver Tier is a bit sus in the first place. Like the ability to like enter the Phantom Realm is at Silver Tier. I feel like is no coincidence at all.
Yeah, the original 1.0 boss being Silver Tier. Like I can't let it go. I want to get back to it someday.
Yeah, Lavos is there. I mean, we know that when Midgardsormr brought the Agrius down, that there was all the latent ether that was in there essentially burst. Which
in the interviews that we've done in the past, Koji has alluded very loosely to a presence or a force that was in Silver Tier that we would have made it to eventually. And I have no idea what's going on there, and I always come back to it as usually like a joke, but I would love to know more about that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, and then on top of that, Silver Tier is where, it's also funny. Not only is Silver Tier where the Phantom Realm is, as Chad has brought up, it's also the first place we saw Vana.
Yeah.
So when we physically saw her in front of us, yeah, we were right by Silver Tier in 5.5.
Silver Tier was supposed to be everything.
Yeah.
Originally, it was the place all of the plot threads were heading, and it's still the center of the world's ethereal network, as far as we know. So it's like, I don't know.
Isn't that why they were afraid in 5.5 of like them rerouting the ether? Because weren't they afraid it was gonna backtrack into Silver Tier and blow up all fucking Eorzea? It was gonna like back block it or something. I only loosely remember why we even did that whole thing in Cart now.
honestly think when we get down to the finale of this game's life cycle, however far that is in the future, I think all things will probably end at Silver Tier.
See, I like the theory that Silver Tier is the exact center point of the Sundering. See, I like that just as like a theory.
I liked that too. There have been a lot of theories that I've thought about over the years of like, how do we really keep Silver Tier as that really meaningful location? Like allegedly that's why Gaius wanted to secure it so quickly in the first place, that he was willing to bring the Armada there, was that he understood that there was something there. He was able to see kind of through the mythology and figure out that there was something very, very important there. And all we've really blamed since then is that he just knew it was the center of the ethereal network. So if you control that, you control the primals. But I feel like there's more to it, and I would love to have like an ARR2 or like Endwalker 2, where we come back to Eorzea and focus on Silver Tier Lake again, just for that like sense of bookended closure.
Yeah.
And bookending, the concept of bookending is actually why I think I'm so okay with the Heart of Sabik coming in the way it did. When we first heard about the Heart of Sabik, we were in Praetorium, which was the start of our Realm Reborn journey. And here we are in the last raid tier of our last journey that has to do with that kind of saga. So I'm weirdly okay with that. It's a weird little echo to something. Sabik started the first raid tier by being like our gateway into Coil, beating Praetorium, and now it's the end on the other side in Pandemonium.
Not to mention it just explains how La Habrea got, well, why he's even crazier, because he's been listening to that.
Why he's so...
Yeah. And then, of course, the line, even just grabbing her lines like straight out of the raid, because I've recently redone Praetorium after doing Pandemonium, and I'm like, you know what?
Why?
La Habrea did it better. From the deepest pits of the seven hells to the very pinnacle of the heavens, the world shall tremble! Fucking love it. Yeah, her tremble is so good, but
yeah,
I love that they were able to put like so much care and realism into explaining why La Habrea was a Saturday morning cartoon villain.
Because his crazy ex-wife and his crazy other half that still loved his ex-wife really got in the fucking way, huh?
Did you talk to Claudian afterwards?
I did
go through his menu.
Yeah, one where you can ask him about the high.
I need to go back and do that.
He has this huge spiel about Ultima and Sabik and Athena, and he drops some weird stuff in that, man. Like, he starts in with like, so sometime longer before we ever thought was possible, Athena somehow came across an aura site, and that was how she started studying and building the heart of Sabik. And then he says that now that they know this, they've been looking back through history, and they believe that at various points in history they've seen references to Athena and Ultima in places unexpected through history, and that they may have been the cause of more disasters and more events throughout history than anyone ever suspected. And that is a very weird thing to say in a menu that looks like it's going to be updated later, added at the end of a patch. That's really weird.
Yeah, I remembered that. That's my chat made sure. They said, okay, so you're going to talk to Claudian after this, and you're going to check the about Ultima, the High Seraph dialogue box, and you're going to listen to what he has to say. And it checks out.
Find it.
I mean, the big thing is Auracite has already been a part. Like, you can already tell where La Habrea fucked up the first time, because the World of Darkness is his first place taking what Athena's researched and going horribly wrong with it. Like, and we're dealing with that now. Like, the Void is literally his first failed attempt at like using Athena's information and experimentation and everything. And they've since been like, that bitch was crazy. I ain't doing that again. I don't know what the fuck she was thinking. But, yeah. I mean, obviously, he's the one who tasked them. I think Iggy Yorm's the one who eventually ruined it, but she didn't fucking know how to use that shit. La Habrea is the one who put that shit in her hand. And she got grounded because she didn't get it. Ain't no way he just put it in her hand and said, yeah, go whatever. Do it. I don't care. She had to get that aura site from somewhere. She got it from him. Can't change my mind about that. Memoriates, yeah, there's all sorts of things. Yeah, Athena's been fucking shit up for a long time. And Ultima's been fucking shit up. I guess the real question is if Ultima's actually dead when we kill her in Ivalice.
I think they're setting it up for there to be kind of multiple incarnations of it over time.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives us kind of an opening for another version of it. So, have you seen the box that the statue comes in? That has its own lore on it.
The box that the statue comes in.
The Ultima.
Yeah, there's an Ultima statue, and there's like lore on the box.
I forgot about that. No, I haven't.
So there's the lore on the box. There's the Triad card. There's stuff from the quests. Now there's this Athena stuff, and it looks like originally it was just a pure force of destruction, the purest force of destruction. And that over time, this fear and reverence and awe gave it a primal like identity. And that's where we ran into it in Ivalice.
Okay.
So if you unmake the primal like entity, the arguably the force could still be out there. The idea could still be out there. So
right.
we may not even have met, Ultima Prime.
Yeah, and I don't think Pallas Athena counts as Ultima Prime. I don't think Tentacle Lady. Although it could be closer to what Ultima actually looks like, which could be why Pallas Athena doesn't actually look anything like Ultima. Ultima's this winged seraph, and then in 12, she's got that weird clockwork dress-like looking thing. As like this, we've seen so many different forms of Ultima, but yeah, they could be. And there's also the one big thing from Savage confused me: the fucking snake. I was like, is that just supposed to be like a Jormungandr reference, like the snake coiling around the world, and then the eyes are off in the distance? Is that all this is supposed to be, or is there like some sort of hint here?
Every time I see snakes in ancient, that's exactly where my brain goes to, is Ophiuchus. Every time I see ancients, Zodiac, anything like that with the constellations. Yeah.
That is Zodiark's a gem in tactics. It is Ophiuchus. So I don't know why that has to do with them, but because it's fucking Ellentill. Ellentill is he's like, I'm here. Stop copying me. Oh man, and that's how it all ends too. That's I think on top of this nice little wrap up of why La Habrea is crazy as fuck. Completely logical that we got there in very quickly in the end. The little hegemony piece I thought was really interesting because that was just like a fun little tidbit to me because I didn't see how that was like ultra relevant to how the story got to the way it was, but it was like a neat little detail about why Hesperos and Agdistis. Sorry, I've tried to fucking put that tree out of my head. I fucking hate that tree. Why those two were so vastly different than Hegemony, who just kind of retained themselves through everything. And then we got Artist Speak explain. I still don't think Claudian should have it. I don't care that he's like, oh, it's got no energy left. It's done. Stop it. Give me the fucking stone. Don't keep that. I've seen what happens when we leave shit like Dragon's Eyes around. I don't want you to have that fucking stone. Okay.
I've been in the Sharlayan archives. I know you guys have a tendency to just put stuff there and forget about it. You don't notice when it goes missing.
Don't like it. But then the final bit is Themis.
Themis.
Yeah. One thing we kind of skirted over is her recreating the souls of the other characters just so we have a send-off for all of them. Some of which are hilarious. You go to ask La Habrea, hey, do you know about this thing? He's like, that's oddly specific. And also learning that he became an evil asshole in the future. He's just like, well, shit. That sucks. That doesn't sound like me at all. And it's funny because Emmett has the same reaction. He's like, that's not me. You're bullshitting me. How could I ever turn out that way? Maybe. But I don't believe
I
you.
appreciated the difference between their reactions. How Emmett Selk was like, I'm offended at this characterization. Like, you're repeating to him what he did. He's like, I'm offended at this characterization. And you repeat the same thing to La Habrea, and he goes, I could see it.
He's like, yeah, okay.
Under the right
sucks.
circumstances, I could see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also Hippolytus with Emmett, and Hippolytus is like, really, you can't see that happening? Like, this really, you can't get from A to B? I can get from A to B. I'll tell you about it. Yeah. And then we finally have Themis, who decides he needs to die for the third time.
One more monologue.
As
if
monologue.
Top the rains have ceased.
Yeah, which is I like that somebody drew in E11. There's no rain, unlike the last time we saw Amarot. So the rains have ceased. Ends up having this double meaning.
I like it. I didn't notice that.
Yeah. Then again, everyone just likes to read between lines that aren't there, so who fucking knows what's deliberate and what's not at this point. But hey, it checks out. Fuck it. It works out. Sunny day, no rain. I'll take it. And then Themis gets our first voiced raid line since the end of Coil, pretty much. Not even the end of Coil. I think the scene after Louis Sois is voiced, but the Louis Sois scene is, I think, the one most people remember from Coil. At
the 12 C, like the turn 12 CGI.
Yeah, with the Phoenix.
Yeah, the Phoenix scene.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because everyone's like, oh man, I was kind of hoping there'd be something voiced. Themis's voice kicks in. There it is. There's no way they only brought him in to voice this first scene. There's no way. It's like they've done it every expansion. No, it's Themis. They had to do it. And we finally get the send-off. He gets his final bit of closure. Because the last two times he died, he didn't really get full closure, I suppose, if that makes sense. Like, he was defeated and gets a sad scene at the Crystal Tower at the top of it. He gets that little Pandemonium teaser, which we now know is a Pandemonium teaser, where he goes, I kind of remember you being an Elpis. You know? I remember that. And then we finally get my soul has, like, all the pieces of my soul are back together, so I remember everything, at least with between the fog kind of situation. And it was what a fantastic send-off to Ellentill.
I'm curious how much of the last monologue was kind of a retort to some of the discourse. because it felt like he was talking to some people who've made some comments that I've seen in terms of like how Ellentill would have felt or what Ellentill would have said.
Oh, so you're thinking it was a meta monologue?
I don't know. Like I wouldn't. It's not so obvious that I would accuse it of being a meta, but I'm curious how much of it would have been meta in any way. Like how much of the writing was inspired by what they've seen people discussing since Point Zero.
It's not too often that we see the emotions, like the raw emotions of the writer, seep out in their product. It's not too often. And I don't think we've ever had that happen in 14, where it's just like, other than Yoshi P being in the Rising, that and the devs being in the Rising, that's it. But like, yeah, I don't think we've really had anything where they're like.
The most meta thing that's ever happened is when they changed the last boss of Labyrinth's name and they like had to rewrite the dialogue, and he's just like, yes, it's this name, not that other name. That's great.
Acheron, Phlegathon, not Acheron, Phlegathon.
Yeah, Phlegathon. Absolutely not Acheron.
We've seen a non-zero amount, which is why I joke about it sometimes. It's where the suspicion comes from. I've seen a lot of things in the lore that are references to lore forum discussions, but usually it's lighthearted stuff. It's not usually deep stuff. The Duke's precious vase in Hildebrand was a lore forum discussion. Some of the tweaks to the Astrologian stuff was lore forum discussion. There was a thread that complained about like the old language, and I feel like ever since then the must needs has been in every patch.
Yeah. Although, chat does bring up Emmett's speech is almost certainly like everything the community's ever kind of theorized about. Like, where are we going after Endwalker? Yeah.
Emmett's speech is do not quit Final Fantasy 14 after this cutscene. That's what like, you have so much left to play. You need to understand how much you have left to play. I think even just Vana looking at you and going, was your journey a good one? Did you have a good time? And then Hythlodeus saying like, this story's got it all in Endwalker. So like there's been a non-zero amount of adding stuff based on fan comments, but I would buy just as easily that this was just a total coincidence and had nothing to do with it.
Nah, fuck it. I know too much. I can't go back. We've been around this community too long, known this dev team too long. It's meta. It's as meta as it's gonna get. But the send off with themes. I guess the real question is at this point, the only thing I've seen any people really debate over is whether Ellentill is teasing another end of the world type thing when he's in the water. Because he's like, but if the star remains on this course, then he kind of cuts himself off and gets seemingly reborn.
Hold on. I actually wrote something down about that. What did I write down about that? I remember there was something different in the languages on that one line.
I remember people telling me there was something different.
Yeah, hold on. Let me look at my notes. I didn't even think to refresh on that one.
There's a lot to refresh on. Yeah, because that's the only thing I've seen, at least only looking at the English language, where people have debated if that's like, because he starts talking about how great everything. He's like, this peace, it's so nice. The star is safe, but if the star continues on this course, and then he cuts himself off.
Yeah, English is how fascinating, the truths that dwell on the edge of sleep. The course of history is set by the victors. It is immutable, and yet, should the star continue on this path? And then he says, look, the light. And that's where it ends. Let's see, what are the other languages? So the sleep he's referring to is death. He's saying, as one passes from life into death, it's amazing the things you can learn at the last second, the insights you can have at the last second. He says history. Ooh, that's an interesting one. German. History moves on, and though it follows the path of the victor, it doesn't seem bad to me at all. The light, it's warm.
That's far more not ominous.
Yeah.
French. What a twist. Who would have thought about the revelations that await at the turn of a long sleep? Of course, we're not rewriting history. It's up to the victors to write the sequel. But nevertheless, if the planet can endure because of that, then, oh, this light. So it's a little different.
A little more complete.
Yeah.
It sounds a little different in every language.
Yeah, but English sounds the most like cliffhangery by far.
Yeah. It does sound a little cliffhanger.
Are we gonna really hold on to that cliffhanger that like he really meant something, or?
Well, with the Ultima
Like,
discussion, I feel like that's the only direction. If you were to just look at the English language and then look at the rest of the information Claudian gives you, you could probably draw a tinfoil thread. Not a whole hat, but at least a tinfoil thread there. But the other languages don't leave much room for that.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm like, well.
All I know is I can't bake a salmon in a tinfoil thread. That's it. I need more tinfoil for that.
The part that stood out to me with him was well, first off, I loved the line where like when we were still in Pandemonium and he looked down and the shadow kind of cast over his face and you could see the Ellentill that he would one day become. There was a scene in the short story where he does that. So the fact that they put one in the game was awesome. In the short story, apparently when he emerged from Zodiark, he said the most ominous line in this entire game, in my opinion. When Ellentill is first restored and returned to Amarat, he says, "You will all make the right choice and I will see it through," which sounds like I command you all to make the right choice. You all know what choice is the right choice.
Sounds like that's definitely Zodiark talking.
There's only one correct choice, and that like gave me flashbacks to the scene where he's still very committed to the course and denounces Emmett Selk forever doubting it. Yeah, I love all of the additions to Ellentill, but the one that stood out to me the most in this one was that he said he was unburdened by regret. That felt like a very deliberate closure line.
Oh yeah, that's like the closure line above anything else, because like after that he's just like, oh, you guys call it the Ethereal Sea. I like that name. And then he dies. Seemingly gets reborn. I'd assume that's what the light is. That's not death. That's his soul like being reborn into the world, I think is most people's interpretation of it. But you know, now without the memories of it, like there's no soul crystal anymore. So
I have no idea whether to see it as death or rebirth or what. I got really hung up on the fact that he goes right from, I look at like the fact that the world goes on and life continues in some form, and I'm glad I'm unburdened by regret, and then skips right to, now that said, it's possible my motivations becomes something else entirely, and that's not how I feel at all. Like if you don't like that, come up with something else.
Wouldn't be the first time people have done that. So again, little self-aware.
Yeah, it feels like closure and very self-aware writing, and yeah, even Sabik, the way it was woven in, I think it's weird. I think this might be the best they've ever done connecting new lore to old lore.
And they got to connect as old, almost as old and as new as could be, like as far apart from start point to end point.
Not easy to connect new writing to the old writing. Not easy.
But yeah, I mean, unless there's still one, I think there's maybe one accounted for Ascian. I don't remember if it was on Gaius's belt or something.
Oh, the number of Ascians we've yet to deal with is dependent entirely on how you think about the game. I don't think SE understands how open to interpretation the Ascian math can be, and that makes me very nervous.
Yeah, because there's chat.
I believe SE thinks there are two left to deal with. I can make the case for far more than two, and I don't like that.
I agree with you.
Which part do you agree with?
the more than 2.
Yeah, I can make.
Well,
I can make the
wait.
case for more than 2.
One. Okay, one of those. Well, you're saying alive, and
Yeah.
accounted. We're going for unaccounted for, right? Unaccounted for, alive.
I think I would put.
Okay.
I would put 2 in the yellow for unaccounted for, 1 in the orange for we have to account for it, 3 in the red for they should be dead, but I can't prove
Is that
it.
Logriff?
Logriff? Let's see, where would I put Logriff? Logriff.
Yeah.
Actually, I have Logriff in the red. Do you not? Can we bring that one back too?
Red as for...
Red as in confident in death.
She's still in the first.
As Logriff or as Gaia?
Gaia is Logriff's soul. So
Logriff. That's what I'm saying. Like she still exists.
The big thing is that Gaia is like, I could probably learn how to walk between dimensions at some point.
Here's where I would draw a line on this one though. Like if, let's say the Ascian was the person who would become the Ascian one day was sundered. The original was sundered. And then we got 14 pieces of this person. And then one is resurrected as like this immortal wraith Ascian creature thing. If you defeat that and they're reborn, aren't they just like a person again and not an Ascian?
The question is, can she still, like, if there was the need, can she still come out with some Ascian kick-ass in the event that we need it? I think she can.
If we're considering the possibility that there are shards of people who could become Ascians again, there are dozens out there. Like when Emmett Selk points out that when what would be the total number? There were 3 that were not sundered, so 11, 14 times 11 is 154 Ascian candidates throughout the dimensions.
Okay.
And then that's what they started with, and we've worked that down. You know, there's been 7 rejoinings and 1 void. So can we, what do you think? Can we save the void or not save the void?
No, they're fucked.
Void is toast?
Void is toast.
Okay, so we got 7 rejoinings, 1 destroyed dimension. So that's 8.
Oh,
right?
While you're working that math out, for chat asking if savages are canon, specifically Eden's savage was, specifically the final tier of savage, was what's his face's made up memories. Like he basically in his head
Yoshi
created.
Peas.
No, not Yoshi Peas.
Yoshi Peas.
No, not Yoshi Peas. What's his face? Mitron.
The Wandering Minstrel.
No, that's not how Eden Savage happens, Sly. They find a memory crystal from Eden and it's Mitron's and he just makes shit up. He's just like, oh, this is how I believed it would transpire. The minstrel has nothing to do with Eden Savage.
At best, a very liberal estimate is we still have like 80 candidates out there.
Okay. So
if you gave them the crystal with all their memories in it, might become that thing.
So if we cross the list off, if we go through each one that we have accounted for, which just said Mitron and Logriff, Emmett Selk, obviously, Fandaniel, obviously, Nabrialis, obviously.
I have this very embarrassing spreadsheet, so I can read it to you like I can give it to you in order.
Yeah, I'm just going in my head like, okay, Nabrialis, La Habrea, okay, and then La Habrea, Egeorm, okay, so those are the 7 that I have accounted for, and then going through like academia, Anador and whatnot. We have we have who was it? Homeroot. I'm trying to think.
Homeroot's one of the two that's totally unaccounted for and could probably still be out there.
The Dalathon.
Yep. In the yellow for me.
Pastorat.
Green. Yeah, that's the other one that's totally unaccounted for.
And I think that's it.
I'll give you my
Meryloth.
clusterfuck of a list here. So Eureka tells us that Emerald died when Val was teleported, which we know was in 2.2. Here's the problem.
Okay.
Here's the problem. Emerald has a speaking line in 2.3.
Are you talking about the scene with like all the other Asians, like
where all the Asians get together in the chrysalis?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you retroactively put Emerald's death in 2.2, why is she speaking in 2.3? Which there's an obvious solution to that if you listen to Emmett Selk, that one of her shards was destroyed and they raised another. Now, if they raised Emerald so quickly, can we be sure Nabriales is dead? Can we be sure Aegyorm is dead?
I guess that depends on how much you believe that what they did immediately after was so pressing.
Yeah, that makes
they said fuck the shards. We just gotta go.
That makes me very uncomfortable. So Emerald's weird. We're told she should be dead in a way that felt like they were trying to get rid of Asians as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. So I think SE thinks she's dead. I question whether she's dead because she has a speaking line in the next pack. So Nabriales dies next, 2.5. But did they bring him back if they brought Emerald back that quickly? I don't think we're supposed to think so, but I can't prove it. Aegyorm dies next. 3.0. Did they bring her back? I can't prove it.
Emmett would not bring her back, dude. He was like, thank fucking God she's gone.
Thank God that one's gone. La Habrea dies next. We're sure he's dead. We got confirmation of that one. He was in the eyes for a bit and died his total death when they stabbed the eye. So he was an original. So we know he can't be re-risen. We got confirmation there. Logriff was on the first with Mitron, or Mitron, or however you want. I don't know how it's pronounced. Logriff did die and was reborn as Gaia. Did they raise another? I don't know. I don't think so. I think we're supposed to think they're dead. Ultima and Dudalafon are next. Those masks are on Gaius's belt. But we're not told whether he actually killed them or just killed their vessels and took their masks. So I don't know whether they're dead, but we're told they're dead. I think we're supposed to think they're dead. Emmett Selk next for 5.0. I think we're supposed to think he's dead. He's an original. We took him out. We see him in the sea. That seems pretty clear. Ellentill, we killed multiple times. We just saw him original. We're good there. Mitron was with Logriff on the first, but Mitron says something interesting. When you talk to Mitron, he says that he suspects that he was eaten for so long that they probably raised another version of him, and that's why they never came to rescue him. Now, he could be wrong about that, but the fact that he says it is really weird. So I don't know if Mitron's dead. Fandaniel, he died after everyone who could have resurrected him, and all the stones are gone. So I think he's dead.
We went to the fucking underworld to make sure he was dead.
Yeah. I think I think he's probably dealt with. And then Pastrit and Helmerit have never been mentioned at all. Well, they've been mentioned, but we've never seen their Asian form, so we don't know if anybody's killed them yet. And then I've actually got a weirder ending to this. In 2.00, there are 14 black-robed overlords standing around before Ellentill shows up. There were 15 Asians back then. So that's weird. Cut to 2.3. You got 14 Asians standing around the outside and Ellentill standing in the middle. That's weird because they're all in black robes, but also they've got the wrong outfits on. None of them have their shoulder pads or their masks. So we don't really know if there's maybe like some black masks there, maybe. I don't know. So already we've got 2 extra Asians because Ellentill was made one of the 14 and Azem was never raised. So who the fuck are those other 2 black robe dudes at the end of 2.0?
That's that's Sean and Gus from Psych. They're just investigating.
And I feel like if I had this conversation with anyone who actually like works and writes for the game, they'd be like, yeah, there's 2 we haven't really figured out yet. Pastorate and Helmer. We're just gonna leave them in the background. Maybe we bring them back someday. Maybe we confirm they're dead. We don't know. And I'd be like, okay, but what about these other 9? And they would be like, oh God, please just shut up.
It'd be even funnier to ask Kate about this because she inherited all this from Oda-san and Koji. She'd be like, oh no, please don't ask me. Please don't do this to me. She just does localization, but even still, she'd still be the one who gets asked because she now has Koji's localization.
I'll commit to it. If I ever get an interview again, that's going to be one of the questions I ask. How many Asians do you guys think are dead?
And how did they die? You got to go for the fact check.
Are dead?
Yeah.
Feel free to tell me that like some of them are in limbo, like Gaius was for a while, where nobody knows if they're alive or dead. Feel free to tell me that. But how many do you think are dead?
How many do you think are dead?
Yep. That's what I would just love to know, that assumption on the writer's parts. Like in your head right now today, how many are dead? How many am I supposed to think are dead?
Man, just digging up corpses. He's like, please, I need this information. I'll get the shovel. Just tell me where to dig.
Where did you hide the bodies?
Where did you hide the bodies? That's it.
Well, if you're going to figure out Golbez is connected to Pastrat somehow.
Well, if my predictions are on point, by the first week of October, you'll have an answer to that, maybe. Because that's when we're predicting approximately for 6.5. 19-week mark would be the first Tuesday of October, I believe. And if they go the extra week because of summer, then you go another week further. So that's what we're looking to find out. Or maybe we find out at FanFest. Who knows? Maybe they just spoil it. Fuck it. Just in the teaser for whatever they're going to have. All right. All the same, we've gone over, I think, all the most important bits of 6.4, especially the curry. By far the most important part.
My favorite part.
And the boots.
Yeah. And the boots was from the previous patch, but it's food, and I like food. But speaking of food, I'm getting hungry, and I got to go to the gym. So I think we're good to wrap this show up for the day. Unless there's something we missed, story-wise.
Save it for the Lore Palooza.
Okay. All right. I agree. All right. With that, thank you, Moose, for being our lore expert.
The invite.
No, it's a long time overdue
so
because
much.
we kept saying we were going to do it, and then we just didn't do it.
You just kept.
No, honored to even be invited. Thank you.
It's a good time. Oh yeah,
thank
Tataru.
you so much.
That was the other thing. Was Tataru, which has been cute, but not not really unveiled anything other than Suzaku's thirst being even more than we thought it was. Suzaku, that's probably my favorite line in like all the stories to this patch where he's like, this is Suzaku and Tenzin's child. And she's like, hold on, let him talk. Hold on, I want to hear the rest of this. Hold on, do we get the details? Is this written down somewhere? I'm going to need a picture book of some kind here for my collection back at the temple at Ryzen Temple. Oh man. Yeah, that's the only other thing really. Which maybe there'll be more to discuss. Obviously, there will be criteria.
Yeah. Oh no. This tier was Gaius. This tier was Whirlit.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did them both on this. I'm sorry. I did them both this patch. So yeah, you're right. No, the Gaius one was sweet too, but not much to unpack. I think lore wise,
not a lot to unpack.
They went for a fucking cheap shot with my tear ducts, but yeah. Other than that was the weirdest thing was this fucking copycat. That was just weird, though. And how they randomly made us play the Christmas minigame for 6 buttons. Not even like, it was like barely. And it was like, here's how the minigame works. Press this button. Oh, it's done.
You love to be like someone who's told to figure out the mechanics for a quest, and you're just like digging through the bag of stuff they came up with for holiday events. Like, yeah, I'm gonna pull this one back out
for like half a second. It's they barely used it. It was like 6 buttons or something. I don't even think it was that many.
Maybe do like a slide puzzle or cheap dungeon.
I miss those. I miss those days.
Yeah, I miss cheap dungeon. Yeah,
good old cheap dungeon. But with that, I think we're good to wrap things up. We will still have variant dungeon, whatever they decide to do for Hildebrand, for that story follow-up. So there's a few more things still to learn, but for the most part, I think we're good. But anyway, thank you again for coming on. Appreciate it. Again,
anytime. Thank you.
All right,
thank you so much.
We'll keep that in mind. that opens a door anytime.
Well, speaking of that,
yeah, exactly. So why don't you tell everyone where they can find you, what you're up to, all that good stuff?
I have no idea. The funny thing is, like, I used to do like a lot of writing, a lot of write-ups, a lot of research, a lot of interviews, and then I went to grad school for a couple years and focused on that entirely. So I'm just getting back into the swing of things. I'm just starting the write-ups again. I'm starting to stream a little bit, seeing where we're going from here, trying a little bit of everything. So I'm still at Anonymoose XIV on Twitter, still at Onwyll ANWYLL on Twitch. And that's pretty much all I'm doing, aside from hanging out and talking to people on Discord when debates pop up and there's interesting stuff to translate.
Good. Yeah. Congratulations on grad school, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. I couldn't I have to go crazy. Oh man.
I told myself, like, I'm gonna do it at the right time. I'm gonna like wait. I'm gonna like build up my resources. I'm gonna do it exactly at the right time. And then I started it and the pandemic happened. And I was like, great timing.
That's the universe going, and no.
Yep.
Oh man, hey, but you did it. You did it. All right. Sly.
Hi.
What you got going on? Well, I was gonna come up with a clever birthday joke, but I'll just say you're a year older now since the last show.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm old.
Happy birthday, man.
Thank you so much. Again, I'm Sly. You can find me on twitch.tv/Sly, aka Great Fox. You can find me on Twitter at Sly the Fox. While I'm here, I want to give a shout out to everyone who took part in the birthday extravaganza. It was really, really fun. Met some awesome content creators, and I actually have an idea for a show that I've already pitched to Happy, and we're going to talk about it in behind the scenes and whatnot. But yeah, like that event, like that's probably one of the best birthdays I've had in my 39 years of existence on this planet. So huge shout out to all those content creators. Thank you so much. Other than that, I'm just getting ready for FanFest.
Have fun. Enjoy 110-degree weather in July. Woo! I hope you brought some eggs to cook on the sidewalk in case you get hungry while you're walking to the convention center.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. And I do have something planned for after FanFest. I've already kind of teased it via the birthday extravaganza, but I will let you know after FanFest. Yeah. So please look forward to it. Hi. Happy.
Yeah, what am I doing? Sorry, I was
what am I doing?
Yeah, what am I doing? Well, the Ever Crisis beta started today, so I was playing a bit of that, and then I'm finally playing through Chained Echoes. It's okay. That's some things I like, some things I don't like. Oh, I got Streamathon on Sunday. I'm doing Final Fantasy Shuffler, where I have to play Final Fantasies 1 through 9 all at the same time. But it randomly shuffles when the game swaps. So I could be in the middle of something, and whenever it swaps, it save states it. So like I could be in the middle of a cutscene, a boss fight. I could be in the middle of a mini game, and it'll just randomly swap to a different game on the list. And then we're gonna have a whole bunch of incentives and little things people can do to ruin my life as if they don't try to do it already. And that's gonna be running all through next week. and however long it ends up taking for me to get through as much as I can, or for the streamathon to end or whatnot. So that's going to be busy. FanFest, I'm not going. As a reminder, I will be home co-streaming the entire event, despite all of my peers being verbally and physically upset with me for not being there. Arthur's is upset. Mira's upset. Everyone's upset. I'm not going. Like, hey,
It's
asshole.
so much easier to cover when you're not there.
That's not even it. I don't want to spend the money on going. That's all it was. Like, as soon as I didn't get the initial ticket, I was like, oh, I could probably get one, because somebody
processed your emotions then and made the logical decision.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, oh, I gotta go. It's FanFest. And then it was like, there was like that branch of not going. And I'm like,
I'll take it.
I'll take it. Yeah, and it just made the most sense. So yeah, I was just like, I'm just not gonna go. I'll stay home. I'll co-stream the whole thing and have a glass of whiskey or something. I don't know.
Every year that I've been there, I've been trying to do like content and coverage, and I'm sitting there like writing on paper in my little notebook while everybody back home is like, it's already on Twitter before I can even pull out my phone. No, it's so much easier to cover not even being there. But
But it's an experience.
But that's not the reason to go.
Yeah, that's not the reason to go.
That's not the reason you go.
That being said, yeah, I won't be there. And then next month is Armored Core. So I know it's the end of next month, but that's my other next exciting thing is that. Sorry, Sea of Stars.
And Baldur's Gate for me.
I can't. I'm not even touching that game. I'll never finish it. There's no point. I'll literally. It's an unfinishable game for me. I'll never finish it. I'm not gonna buy it. There's no point.
You just need people. You need a party.
No, then I'll really never finish it, because I can wait on however many other motherfuckers to get that shit done. Then it'll absolutely never be finished. I can't get anyone together for a real D&D session. You think I'm gonna fucking magically figure out how to make that shit happen? If you can get 8 people
together for fucking raid, you can get 2
I don't get anyone together for raid. I don't raid lead, Sly. I say, tell me when to show up, I'll fucking show up. I sit at home. I'm home 15 hours out of the day. Just tell me when you want me to play the video game. Everyone else has lives and goes places. I'm the easy one. Like, I fucking get people together for raid. Trying to give me credit for shit I don't do. I ain't gonna take it. Nope. But yeah, that's what I got going on. And then other than that, just cranking YouTube shit, as I always do. No surprises there. Anyway, with that, thanks everyone for coming by today's show. Thank you to SteelSeries and Advanced GG for sponsoring. Thank you, everyone on Patreon, for supporting. Scared the shit out of me when you hit your mic. Sorry. Oh my God. I thought I did something. I was like, did my audio break? Yeah. And thank you again, Moose, for coming on. We will be certainly having you on again in the future. Trust me. All right.
Thank you so much, Moose.
Thank you. And with that, everyone, we will go to a very short post show, and then we'll be gone. So, bye.
See you soon.